Some of these you'll only find in Japan. In Japan, they have pill organizing packets. When you're sick and go to the pharmacy, you don't get a giant bottle of pills to sort out yourself. Instead, they give you small individual packets with your exact dose for each time of day. Each packet is labeled with the date, the time to take it, the type of medicine, and the dosage, making it easy to stay on schedule and avoid mistakes. Crowded buses in Japan have secret extra seats. When the bus is packed and all the seats are taken, you don't just have to stand and hang on. Hidden fold-out seats in the middle of the aisle can be pulled down, giving you a place to sit even when the bus is full. You can get pizza from vending machines in Japan. These machines are 24/7, so if you're craving pizza at 4 a.m., you're covered. All you have to do is pay, wait a few minutes, and a hot, freshly cooked pizza slides out, complete with a pizza slicer so you can eat it on the go. Apple products in Japan aren't locked down. You can freely touch, pick up, and carry around iPhones, iPads, and MacBooks to interact with them in store because Japan is so safe and theft is extremely rare. Japanese convenience stores are on another level. Their shelves don't just have cold water and drinks. They also have hot drinks like coffee and tea, which is something you don't see often in the US. When shopping for clothes, many stores in Japan provide thin cotton head covers for you to wear while trying on clothes, so you don't stain them with makeup or hair products. It's a small accommodation that shows how much attention Japan pays to keeping things clean and comfortable for everyone. In Japan, they have something called yogurt ladies. You'll see older women riding around in small motorized carts throughout the city, but they're not selling junk food or snacks. They're selling probiotic yogurt drinks, and some of these drinks have supplements and vitamins packed right into the cap, making it easy to get your daily nutrition while you're on the go. They have small gadgets that help you open jars effortlessly. These devices stick under your kitchen cabinets, and when you can't open a stubborn jar, you just place the lid on the gadget and twist. The lid pops off easily, without any struggle. Even Japan's nail salons are on another level. They have AI-powered machines that can paint your nails in seconds. You just place your hand in the machine, and it designs detailed nail art with patterns and colors that even professional artists would struggle to recreate. Japan has overhead gas stations with full-service attendants. Instead of ground-level pumps, the fuel hoses drop from above, letting cars pull in from any angle without worrying about hose reach. An attendant pulls the nozzle down from the overhead unit and pumps the gas for you. They'll often wash your windshield, collect your trash, and make sure everything's taken care of while you stay comfortably in the driver's seat. Japan has sidewalk traffic lights designed just for pedestrians, placed right on the edge of the sidewalk. These ground-level lights are synced with standard traffic signals and let you know exactly when it's safe to walk. They're especially helpful for people who are looking down at their phones, making crossings safer and smarter in busy city areas. Japan has high-tech sanitizing stations in front of major stores. These machines do more than just dispense hand sanitizer. As soon as you step up, a sensor releases gel onto your hands. A thermal LED screen scans your forehead to check your temperature, and a fine mist sprays around you to sanitize your shoes. In Japan, they have an anti-loneliness cafe. You can never be alone at this cafe. The purpose is so that solo diners or introverts don't feel odd or alone while eating. A member of staff will place a stuffed animal, like a Moomin character, at your table so you have company while you eat. You're then served creative dishes that showcase the Moomin characters. After eating, you can go to their merchandise shop and get Moomin gifts. In Japan, some McDonald's have exercise bikes, so you can burn calories while enjoying your meal. In Japan, they have black eggs that are said to extend your life by 7 years. These eggs are called Kuro Tamago, and you can find them in Owakudani, a volcanic valley formed by Mount Hakone. They're boiled in natural hot springs heated by volcanic activity, and the shells turn pitch black due to a chemical reaction with the sulfur in the water. Each bite is believed to prolong your life, and it's a one-of-a-kind local tradition that draws visitors from all over the world. Japan grocery stores have basket sanitizer machines. With so many people constantly touching carts, baskets, and products, these machines are built to stop the spread of germs. You load up a large stack of baskets, sometimes 50 or more, and the machine uses UV light to disinfect every nook and cranny. It's fast, contact-free, and kills up to 99% of bacteria before anyone else touches it. Japan has smart mirrors in salons. These digital mirrors go way beyond just showing your reflection. They can scan your scalp and hair follicles to recommend specific treatments and products. You can also browse different hairstyles, and the mirror will display a virtual preview of how each one would look on you live in real time. It's also touchscreen, allowing you to make selections and set preferences directly on the mirror. In Japan, they have bag escalators. Many people tend to walk around with a lot of luggage in subways or airports, so bag escalators were added near areas that require stairs. This means you don't have to carry large bags up the stairs. You simply place your suitcase on the escalator and walk the stairs, while the escalator brings your bag to the top. Japan has slide-on tables at restaurants. Instead of carrying each dish to your table, they load everything onto a full tray table and slide it right onto yours. It lines up perfectly, making it super convenient and fast. And when you're done, they just slide the whole thing back for cleanup. It's smooth, efficient, and way easier for both the staff and customer. In Japan, many cans have Braille printed on the label. It's especially helpful for alcohol, letting visually impaired people know if the drink has alcohol in it. This simple, inclusive design choice makes shopping so much easier, and it's something the US still hasn't implemented, even though it would be incredibly useful. Japan has roads with built-in sprinklers that spray warm water to prevent ice from forming when it snows, making driving much safer. Japanese don't like fat people, so they take fitness seriously. Even their stairs show how many calories you're burning as you walk. In Japan, washing your hands feels futuristic, with automatic hand washers that dispense the perfect amount of soap and a screen that tells you exactly when you're done.
Number 24. The apartment that folds itself. In central Tokyo, certain micro-apartments operate on a system called Henka Jutaku, the changing dwelling. The bed retracts into the ceiling during the day. The dining table folds out of a wall panel. The bathroom slides behind a partition. The same 100 square feet becomes a bedroom, a kitchen, a workspace, and a guest room across a single day, with the layout shifting based on which activity is happening. The apartments rent for a fraction of what comparable square footage costs in any other major city, because the space is doing the work of 3 apartments. Residents report higher satisfaction than those in larger conventional units, mostly because nothing is ever cluttered. The room you're in is always the room you need. Everything else has been folded away. Number 23. The street that rewards you for using it. Some Japanese shopping streets called Shotengai issue customers a small stamp card. Every purchase, no matter how small, gets you a stamp. Fill the card, redeem it for a discount, a free meal, or sometimes cash back. The card works across every shop on the street. The system turns individual stores into a coalition. Customers shop locally because every yen contributes to the same reward. Big chains can't compete because the rewards exist only at participating small shops. The street thrives. The community keeps its character. The card costs almost nothing to print, and it quietly defends entire neighborhoods from corporate retail. Number 22. The hospital room. You can book like a hotel. A growing number of Japanese hospitals offer something called Shukuhaku Byoshitsu, the hotel-style hospital room. For an additional fee, patients receive a private room with a view, premium bedding, restaurant-quality meals, and an attendant who handles non-medical needs the way a hotel concierge would. The rooms aren't just for wealthy patients. Insurance often partially covers them. The hospital uses revenue from premium rooms to subsidize standard care, meaning everyone benefits from the patients who pay extra. Recovery times in premium rooms measure noticeably faster, possibly because patients sleep better and stress less. Healing turned out to be partly a hospitality problem. Number 21. The bus that doesn't have a schedule. In rural Japanese towns, a system called Noru no Basu, the riding bus, operates without a fixed timetable. You call a number, the bus comes to you within 15 minutes, and it routes itself based on whoever else needs a ride that hour. Same vehicle, same driver, completely different route every trip. The cost per ride matches a city bus. The service quality matches a private taxi. The towns running this system serve elderly residents who can't drive but live too far from anywhere to walk. Most rural areas worldwide accept that aging populations lose mobility. Japan engineered around that assumption, and the elderly kept getting to their doctors, their shops, and their friends. Number 20. The office that kicks you out at 6. Some Japanese companies have adopted a hard policy called Teiji Taisha, the on-time exit. The office literally locks. Lights go off. The air conditioning shuts down. Anyone still at their desk after the cutoff has to physically leave or work in the dark, in silence, with no climate control. Productivity at companies using this policy went up, not down. Workers stopped padding their hours and started compressing their work. Output stayed constant. Hours dropped. Burnout rates collapsed. The trick was removing the option to keep working past a reasonable time. Without that option, people simply finished what mattered and went home. Number 19. The forest that delivers packages. Japan Post operates a service called Shinrin Takuhai, forest delivery, in heavily wooded rural prefectures where standard truck routes can't reach scattered homes. Drivers transfer packages to dedicated walking couriers who hike specific forest paths, delivering to households accessible only by foot. The couriers know every cabin, every trail, every elderly resident along their route. Packages arrive within 48 hours despite the terrain. Many couriers are themselves former residents of those forest communities, paid well for skills that have no equivalent anywhere else. Japan refused to let geography defeat the postal system and built a delivery network shaped by the forest itself. Number 18. The preschool with a train inside it. A handful of Japanese preschools have actual decommissioned train cars permanently installed inside the building. Children play in them, eat lunch in them, take naps in them. The train teaches them about transportation, public behavior, queuing, and the basic respect for shared space that defines Japanese commuting culture. By age 5, these children navigate real train stations with quiet competence that startles foreign visitors. They've practiced for years. The train inside the school made the train outside the school feel completely natural. Most preschools teach concepts abstractly. Japan put the concept directly inside the classroom, and the children grew up understanding it bodily rather than intellectually. Number 17. The bakery where you pay on the way out. Many Japanese bakeries operate on a self-service trust model. You grab a tray and tongs at the entrance, walk through the bakery selecting whatever pastries you want, and pay at the register on the way out. No staff watching, no barcode scans. Just you, the bread, and an honor system. Theft rates are nearly zero. The model works because the country runs on the unspoken assumption that customers will pay for what they take. Bakeries running this system have lower staff costs, faster service, and more attentive customers because the experience treats people as adults. Most countries assume the worst and design around theft. Japan assumed the best and ended up with a smoother system. Number 16. The textbook you can't lose. Japanese school children receive textbooks at the start of each year that they are expected to keep in perfect condition. The books are tracked. Damage costs money. At year's end, the books pass to the next class. Some textbooks remain in service for 15 years. What this teaches isn't just frugality. It's care for shared objects, awareness of impermanence, and the understanding that what you hold belongs partly to whoever holds it next. Children handle their books like museum artifacts. The cost per student per book drops to almost nothing. The cultural lesson compounds across childhood. American students get new textbooks annually and routinely return them in worse shape than they received them. Number 15. The coffee shop that charges by the hour. A category of Japanese cafe called Jikan Cafe, time cafes, charges per minute of occupancy rather than per drink. Coffee, snacks, and pastries are free. You pay for time. Stay 10 minutes, pay a small amount. Stay 4 hours, pay more. The model inverts every assumption about how cafes operate. Customers who normally feel guilty nursing one drink for hours now have permission to settle in. Productivity workers love them. The cafe earns predictable revenue based on space usage rather than unpredictable food sales. Both sides know exactly what they're paying for. The math finally works for everyone. Number 14. The office building that grows rice on the ground floor. A Tokyo office tower called Pasona Urban Farm dedicates 20% of its ground floor space to functioning rice paddies, vegetable gardens, and fruit trees. Employees harvest produce during lunch breaks. The cafeteria cooks with ingredients grown in the lobby that morning. The farm reduces building cooling costs through evaporative cooling, produces measurable amounts of food, and dramatically improves employee mental health. Workers exposed to the indoor farm during the day report lower stress and higher job satisfaction than workers in conventional offices. The investment paid back within 6 years through productivity gains alone. Most office buildings still treat their lobbies as decoration, while this one feeds its workers. Number 13. The Marriage Interview Day. Certain rural Japanese towns host an annual event called Miai no Hai, the Matching Day, where eligible adults register with the town office, complete personality and lifestyle assessments, and meet potential partners through structured interviews coordinated by trained facilitators. The town treats marriage like a public good, because in rural areas with declining populations, every new household matters for the community's survival. The facilitators take it seriously. Matches that result in marriage receive a small celebration grant from the town. Couples who eventually have children receive additional support. Some towns have reversed their population decline through these programs after decades of shrinkage. What sounds awkward by Western dating standards turns out to be remarkably effective. The participants want to be there. The facilitators know the community. The matches are based on compatibility rather than algorithm or chance encounter. People who would otherwise have remained single because they didn't know how to meet anyone find partners through a system designed to help them succeed. The town benefits. The individuals benefit. The next generation gets to exist because someone treated the problem of loneliness as solvable infrastructure rather than a private burden. Number 12. The garden that changes by itself. Japanese garden design includes a principle called shake, borrowed scenery, where a small garden is designed to incorporate distant views of mountains, forests, or other natural features as if they were part of the garden itself. The frame of the garden ends at the property line, but the visual composition extends to the horizon. The technique requires understanding sightlines, sun angles, seasonal foliage changes, and the cooperation of neighboring landowners who agree not to plant tall trees that would block the borrowed view. Entire neighborhoods quietly maintain visual agreements that protect each other's gardens for generations. The result is small gardens that feel enormous, framing landscapes their actual size could never contain. Modern Western gardening tends to think of property as bounded by fences. Whatever exists inside the fence is the garden. What exists outside is somebody else's problem. Japanese garden philosophy rejects that boundary. The garden is whatever the eye sees from inside it, including the mountain 3 miles away. Designing for the borrowed view forces gardeners to think collaboratively, generationally, and at scales that most landscape design ignores entirely. The cumulative effect across an entire culture is that Japanese neighborhoods quietly coordinate the maintenance of beauty in ways most other cultures consider impossible. The garden became a community project that nobody officially organized, and the country became more beautiful because people agreed, without ever explicitly agreeing, to protect each other's views. Number 11. The company that insures your hobby. A category of Japanese insurance product covers what's called shumihoken, hobby insurance, paying out small benefits when accidents happen during recreational activities. Damaged camera gear during a hiking trip. A guitar broken on the way to band practice. Tools lost during a gardening accident. The premiums are tiny. The benefits make hobbies feel financially safer to pursue. People take up activities they'd otherwise avoid because the cost of equipment loss would have been prohibitive. Photography clubs grow. Music groups expand. The insurance industry quietly subsidizes the cultural richness of recreational life by removing the financial risk from pursuing it seriously. What this represents is a different theory of what insurance is for. Most countries insure against catastrophic loss, ignoring smaller losses as not worth the administrative complexity. Japan figured out that small losses prevent people from pursuing activities that would enrich their lives, and built insurance products specifically to remove that friction. The downstream effect on Japanese culture has been profound. People pursue hobbies more seriously, more publicly, and more communally than residents of most other countries. Photography clubs gather thousands of members. Amateur musicians fill venues. Hobby industries thrive because participants can afford to invest in equipment without fearing that one mistake will ruin their finances. The insurance was small. The cultural infrastructure it supported was enormous, and most other countries never thought to build it because the individual products seemed too minor to matter. Number 10. The train station. That's also a library. Tokyo's larger train stations include sections called Ekinaka Toshokan, in-station libraries, where commuters can borrow books for the length of their daily commute. You pick up a book entering the station, read it on the train, return it when you exit at your destination station. The book travels with you and returns to the network for the next reader. The system works because Japanese rail commuters are predictable. They go to the same stations every day. They have approximately the same amount of reading time. The library matches book length to commute length, suggesting titles that can be finished within a single round trip, or read across the week's commutes in calculated chapters. What this produces is a population of readers whose daily commutes have become the primary site of their literary lives. Books that would otherwise have been read sporadically over months get finished in a week. Genres get explored that physical book ownership would never have justified. The commute, which most cities treat as wasted time, became reading time at scale. The library funds itself through small annual membership fees and partnerships with publishers who benefit from increased book discovery. The infrastructure cost is minimal. Some shelves, some return bins, some library cards. The cultural output is a country whose train commuters read more than commuters anywhere else, by a wide margin, because the system made reading the easiest thing to do during the commute rather than something requiring deliberate effort. Number 9. The elevator that knows where you're going. Modern Japanese office buildings install a system called Yobidashi Arabita, predictive elevators, that watches the building's traffic patterns and pre-positions elevators based on what's likely to happen next. Morning rush hour at 8:30, elevators wait at the lobby. Lunch break at noon, they cluster at the cafeteria floor. End of day, they redistribute toward the upper floors where workers will soon want to descend. The system learns the building over time, getting more accurate every week until wait times drop to almost zero for most users. The elevator arrives before you've finished pressing the button because the building already knew you were about to press it. What this represents is a particular kind of intelligence applied to infrastructure most people consider already optimized. The elevator hadn't really changed in 80 years. Japan looked at it again, recognized that wait time was actually a prediction problem rather than a mechanical one, and quietly retrofitted intelligence into a category of machine the rest of the world considered done. The energy savings are substantial. Buildings using predictive elevator systems consume measurably less electricity because elevators stop running empty trips. The user experience is dramatically better because waiting time disappears. Both outcomes came from rethinking what an elevator was actually supposed to do, which turned out to be transporting people efficiently rather than mechanically responding to button presses. The distinction sounds small. The cumulative impact across millions of daily elevator trips compounds into something significant. Number 8. The school that builds its own furniture. Japanese middle schools include a class called Gijutsu, technology, where students design and build the actual furniture used in their classrooms. Desks, chairs, shelves, sometimes whole rooms. The work happens in workshops attached to the schools, supervised by trained instructors, using real tools and real materials. By graduation, students have built objects that thousands of subsequent students will use. The desk you sat at in 8th grade might have been built by a graduate from 6 years earlier. The shelves holding the library books might have been assembled by students who graduated before you started. The school becomes a continuous project across generations, with each class contributing something physical that the next class inherits. What this produces in students is unmistakable. Japanese teenagers operate basic tools, understand structural design, and respect well-made objects in ways most American teenagers never learn. They've built things. They know what holding lumber feels like. They understand that the chair under them was assembled by hands, not unlike their own. The cultural effects ripple outward across adulthood. Adults who built their own desks in middle school don't fear repairing furniture, building shelves, or maintaining their homes. They have base competence that most modern adults have lost entirely, replaced by hiring specialists for tasks that would have been routine handcraft 60 years ago. Japan kept that competence alive by building it into the curriculum, and the country quietly produces generation after generation of citizens who know how to make things with their hands. Number 7. The city that keeps a waiting list for dying. Several Japanese cities maintain a system called Mitori Yoyaku, Death Watching Reservation, where elderly residents can register in advance for end-of-life care that includes daily check-ins, palliative support, and trained companions for their final weeks. The list isn't morbid. It's practical preparation for something everyone will eventually face. When the time comes, the system activates automatically. A trained companion visits daily. Medical support arrives as needed. The dying person receives consistent human presence rather than the medicalized isolation that defines end-of-life care in most countries. What this addresses is the silent crisis of solitary death that haunts every aging society. Japan has more elderly residents than most countries, and many of them outlive their families or live separately from adult children. Without intervention, these people often die alone, sometimes undiscovered for days. The Mitori system catches them. The death still happens, but it happens with company, with care, with dignity. Western cultures often treat death planning as morbid or inappropriate. Japan looked at the same problem and decided that planning ahead was the kindest thing anyone could do for people who would otherwise face the experience alone. The country quietly built something most other places haven't even acknowledged was missing. Number 6. The business card that lasts a century. Japanese business cards, called meishi, are exchanged with formal ritual at the start of any professional meeting. You receive the card with both hands, study it briefly, place it carefully on the table in front of you for the duration of the conversation, and store it respectfully afterward. What this practice produces is a network of preserved professional relationships, unlike anything that exists in cultures where business cards get shoved into pockets and forgotten. Japanese professionals maintain organized collections of meishi spanning their entire careers. The card from a meeting in 1987 might still be in a drawer somewhere, available if the relationship needs to be rekindled 40 years later. The ritual signals respect. The placement on the table signals attention. The careful storage signals that the relationship matters beyond this single meeting. The cumulative effect is a professional culture that takes relationships seriously in ways most modern business interactions don't. Japanese companies maintain decades of business relationships, partly because their executives never lose track of who they've met. Networks remain active. Old colleagues stay reachable. The business culture rests on this quiet archival practice that the rest of the world replaced with LinkedIn profiles people forget to update. Number 5. The garbage truck that plays music. In many Japanese neighborhoods, garbage trucks announce their arrival by playing music, specific melodies for specific routes. The music gives residents about 10 minutes to bring out their sorted waste before the truck reaches their corner. The whole neighborhood coordinates its waste output through a passing soundtrack. What this avoids is the universal frustration of missing the garbage truck and being stuck with trash for another week. The music gives clear, audible notice. Even residents working in their backyards or with windows closed hear the approaching tune and know how much time they have. The melodies themselves matter. Each route has its own, chosen for pleasantness rather than urgency. Children learn the tune of their neighborhood truck. The sound becomes part of the daily rhythm of the area. The garbage truck stopped being an interruption and became a small piece of community infrastructure. The investment is trivial, a small speaker on each truck. What it produces is a waste system that works because residents and workers operate in coordination rather than conflict. Number 4. The elevator that practices. Bowing. Department stores in Japan often employ uniformed elevator attendants whose entire job is to operate the elevator, announce floors, and bow to customers entering and exiting. The role costs the store significant money in wages. The function could easily be automated. The store keeps the attendant anyway, deliberately. What the attendant provides isn't transportation. It's a small ceremonial signal that the store treats customers with respect, that even ordinary moments of daily commerce can carry dignity. The attendant's bow at your exit is the same bow you would receive entering a 5-star hotel. This sounds extravagant until you realize what it does to the rest of the customer experience. Visitors to Japanese department stores describe the atmosphere as fundamentally different from comparable stores elsewhere. Every interaction is treated as a moment worth making slightly more graceful than it had to be. The cumulative effect on customer loyalty is substantial. The store wins on hospitality rather than on price or selection. Number 3. The commute that never stops moving. Japanese commuter rail networks have refined a practice called Sokujitsu Haisha, same-day dispatch flexibility, where additional trains get added to the schedule in real time based on platform crowd density. Cameras monitor how many people are waiting at each station. When crowds exceed normal thresholds, central control adds an extra train within minutes. The result is that even during sudden surges, the platforms never reach the dangerous overcrowding that defines rush hour in most cities. The system flexes, the trains keep flowing, the commute remains manageable even on days when conditions would have collapsed somewhere else. What enables this is partly technological and partly cultural. Underneath the technology is an assumption that the system exists to serve passengers, not the other way around. The schedule isn't fixed. The schedule is a living thing that adjusts to what the day actually requires. Most rail networks elsewhere treat schedules as rigid commitments. Japan rejected that logic. The trains flex because the system was built to flex. Number 2. The factory that asks the workers what to build. A management practice that originated at Toyota and spread across Japanese manufacturing called Kaizen. Continuous improvement requires every worker on the factory floor to actively suggest changes to the production process, not occasionally. Daily. Workers submit improvement ideas constantly, and the company implements thousands of them every year. The cumulative effect is staggering. A Toyota factory operates on processes that have been refined by tens of thousands of individual suggestions over decades. The machine that builds the car was designed partly by the worker who operates it. This inverts the standard industrial assumption that management thinks and workers execute. Japanese manufacturing decided that the workers performing the task were the people best positioned to know how it could be improved. Their suggestions were genuine process design contributions, evaluated by engineers and implemented at scale. The competitive advantage Japanese manufacturing built over decades came partly from this cultural decision, repeated across millions of small improvements suggested by workers who would have been ignored elsewhere. Number 1. The country that quietly asks every question twice. Underneath every idea on this list runs a single deeper habit that Japan figured out, and most countries haven't. It's the willingness to ask, with genuine seriousness, whether the existing version of an ordinary thing is actually as good as it could be, and then to ask the same question again next year, and the year after that. Most cultures stop asking once a system works. The system works, so leave it alone. Japan kept asking. The elevator worked. Could it work better? The garbage truck worked. Could residents and truck cooperate more gracefully? The question never quite gets answered because every answer reveals another question. The result is a culture that exists in a state of continuous quiet refinement, applied to everything, by everyone, all the time. The washlet. The toilet that makes every other toilet feel unfinished. The Japanese toilet requires its own paragraph before the list truly begins, because no other item here generates the same immediate, visceral recognition in every person who has encountered it outside Japan and then returned home. The washlet, developed by Toto in 1980 and now installed in approximately 80% of Japanese homes, is a toilet seat with integrated bidet functionality, a heated seat, a warm air dryer, automatic lid opening, and in advanced models a deodorizer, a nightlight, music to mask ambient sound, and a lid that opens when you walk in and closes when you leave. The entire experience is controlled by a wall panel that first-time users approach with the same caution reserved for unfamiliar aircraft equipment. The seat is heated. This detail alone, encountered for the first time on a cold January morning, produces something close to an existential reassessment. A cold toilet seat is not a minor inconvenience. It is a daily, year-round, unavoidable physical unpleasantness that billions of people have accepted as an unalterable condition of existence because no one told them it had already been solved. Japan solved it in 1980. The solution is now 45 years old. A basic entry-level version that handles the heated seat alone costs under $30. Western plumbing design continues to ship cold porcelain as the global standard. The washlet is the clearest possible example of a gap between what exists and what most of the world knows exists, and that gap has been sitting there, politely heated, for nearly half a century. The kotatsu. The table that is also a heated blanket. Fort for adults. The kotatsu is a low table with a heating element mounted to its underside and a thick, quilted blanket, the futon, draped over the tabletop and hanging down to the floor on all sides. You sit on cushions on the floor, slide your legs beneath the blanket, and the blanket traps the heat from the underside element around your lower body completely. The table surface sits above the blanket. You eat at it, work at it, watch television at it. Your legs are warm. The rest of the room can be whatever temperature it is. The kotatsu heats the person rather than the room, at a fraction of the energy cost of central heating or space heating. This is not a novelty item at the eccentric edge of Japanese consumer culture. The kotatsu is standard living room furniture present across generations, built into the rhythm of cold weather domestic life the way a sofa is built into a Western living room. Families gather at the kotatsu after dinner. Elderly relatives claim the warmest position as a matter of understood priority. Cats migrate under the blanket without permission and are generally permitted to stay indefinitely. The Western equivalent is a heated blanket plugged into a wall socket, held awkwardly while sitting upright on furniture designed for an entirely different posture. The kotatsu is architecturally integrated warmth, culturally central, and produces a specific quality of winter evening that the thermostat and the sofa, working together, have never once replicated. The ofuro. The bath that has nothing seated on a small stool at a low handheld showerhead, soaping and rinsing until completely clean. Then, and only then, you enter the ofuro, a deep, short soaking tub filled with very hot water, into which you lower yourself up to the shoulders and remain for as long as comfortable. The water in the ofuro stays clean because you were already clean before entering. The same water is kept hot by a built-in reheating system and used by successive family members across the entire evening. The bathroom is designed around this two-phase sequence. The washing area and the tub are in the same room but functionally distinct. The floor is tiled and fully drainable. The entire floor is the shower pan. The shower head is handheld and low-mounted. The tub is deeper and shorter than a Western bathtub, optimized for vertical immersion rather than horizontal reclining. Western bathrooms are designed around a single tub that serves as both wash space and soak space, compromising both. The shower curtain is a workaround for a design problem. The bath mat is a workaround. The entire arrangement is built around a fixture that is mediocre at both functions it is asked to perform. The ofuro separates the functions, perfects each individually, and produces a nightly ritual that Japanese adults describe as non-negotiable, regardless of how long the workday lasted. Fusuma. The walls that move and change everything. Fusuma are full-height sliding panels, traditionally wood-framed with thick washi paper or fabric facing, that serve as interior walls in Japanese homes. They slide on tracks set into the floor and ceiling, opening fully to merge adjacent rooms or closing to divide one large space into two private ones. This is not a minor architectural variation. It is a fundamentally different understanding of what a room is. In a Western home, a room's size and purpose are fixed at construction and altered only through renovation. In a Japanese home, the same physical square footage can function as one large space for a family gathering in the evening and two private rooms by night, without any furniture moved, any renovation done, or any decision involving contractors. A family with modest floor space can host a dinner for 12 in a merged room that, by the end of the evening, has been divided back into separate functional areas without anyone leaving or any permanent rearrangement required. The home adapts to the event rather than the event permanently adapting to the home's fixed limitations. Traditional Fusuma also feature painted or printed designs, landscapes, birds, seasonal motifs, meaning the interior wall is simultaneously its own artwork. The visual character of a room shifts based on which panels are open and which are closed. Western homes have sliding barn doors trending through interior design at regular intervals. They are a single door pretending to be a concept. Fusuma are an entire wall philosophy, and a Japanese home built around them operates with a spatial flexibility that fixed-wall Western construction physically cannot match. The Ingawa. The room that is neither inside nor outside. The Ingawa is a narrow wooden veranda running along the exterior of a traditional Japanese room, sitting between the interior living space and the garden behind sliding shoji screens. It is floored with polished wood wide enough to sit on, lie on, or eat on. It has no fixed single purpose. It is a transitional zone, technically inside the building's roofline but open to the garden, designed to be the place where inside and outside meet without one consuming the other. In the morning, the Ingawa catches low light before it reaches the interior. In summer, the overhanging eave above provides shade that keeps the interior cool, while the Ingawa itself remains comfortable. In autumn, it frames the garden at precisely the height and angle from which changing foliage is most visible. In winter, it holds the cold away from the main room while allowing the garden to remain visible through shoji screens without opening them. Western home design has a patio, and it has a living room, and there is usually a glass door between them. The transition is binary, inside or outside, climate-controlled or not. The Ingawa refuses that binary entirely. It is a room preserved for in-between states, for the specific quality of a late afternoon that is neither fully domestic nor fully outdoors, and Japanese residential architecture carves out dedicated physical space for that quality. Western design uses that same zone for a dryer vent and a garden hose. The tokonoma, the alcove dedicated entirely to beauty. The tokonoma is a recessed alcove, typically in the main reception room of a Japanese home, raised slightly from the floor, containing exactly two things: a hanging scroll and a flower arrangement. Sometimes a single significant ceramic piece or a carefully chosen stone joins them. The alcove has no storage function whatsoever. Its entire purpose is to be the most intentionally beautiful part of the room. The contents change with the season. The scroll is swapped out. The flowers are replaced with varieties appropriate to the month. A spring tokonoma holds cherry blossom imagery and early season blooms. A winter one holds pine, plum branches, or an ink painting of snow. The room does not announce the season through a holiday decoration purchased and stored in a bin. It expresses the season through considered, curated objects maintained within approximately 2 feet of recessed wall space. Western interior design has decorative objects. It has display shelves. It has the mantelpiece zone. that horizontal surface above the fireplace that receives occasional seasonal attention and otherwise accumulates framed photographs and objects of uncertain origin. But no Western architectural tradition built into the room itself a dedicated recess whose sole function is to hold the single, most beautiful, seasonally appropriate thing currently available, and whose emptiness, when the objects are being changed, is considered a statement in itself. The Tokonoma says the home deserves a space for beauty the same way it deserves a space for cooking. The wall was allocated accordingly. The Butsudan, the ancestor altar in the living room. In approximately 50% of Japanese homes, there is a Butsudan, a home Buddhist altar, typically a lacquered wooden cabinet that opens to reveal an interior shrine containing a Buddha image, memorial tablets inscribed with the posthumous names of deceased family members, incense, candles, offerings of food or fresh flowers, and a small bell struck before address. Morning and evening, family members open the cabinet, light incense, ring the bell, and speak to the ancestors. The departed are not considered gone in any final sense. They are present in the home, requiring acknowledgement, deserving of daily offerings and ordinary conversation. The Butsudan is where the living speak to the dead, not as a ritual performed at a cemetery on a designated holiday, but daily in the room where the family eats dinner every night. Western homes hold photographs of deceased relatives. Some have a corner of a mantelpiece with a candle and a framed image. But there is no designated, architecturally integrated daily use space for maintaining an active, ongoing relationship with family members who have died. The dead in Western domestic design are memorialized rather than engaged with, honored at a distance, visited on specific occasions, kept outside the daily rhythm of the living home. The Butsudan makes a different assumption, that the family includes its dead, that the dead require daily tending, and that the home should contain a cabinet built for exactly that purpose. Half of Japan agrees and furnishes accordingly. The Kamedana, the Shinto shelf near the ceiling. Where the Butsudan belongs to Buddhist practice, the Kamedana, literally God shelf, belongs to Shinto. It is a small shelf mounted high on the wall, typically above a doorway or in the main room, holding a miniature shrine housing a paper talisman from a Shinto temple, a small ceramic sake cup, a salt dish, and a water offering refreshed every morning. The Kamedana is present in homes with no obvious religious practice in any other visible sense. People who do not regularly visit temples, who could not explain Shinto theology if asked directly, and who would not describe themselves as particularly spiritual, nonetheless maintain the Kamedana as a daily household habit. Fresh water each morning, a moment of acknowledgement, and awareness that the home sits within a geography larger than itself. What the Kamedana represents architecturally is a home that contains a vertical dimension. The shelf is placed above eye level deliberately, because what it holds belongs to a register of reality above the household's ordinary horizontal activity. The home has a top, a place where the daily meets something that the household acknowledges without fully defining. Western homes have no equivalent of this vertical register. The ceiling is just the ceiling. There is no designated place where the household gestures upward. The Kamedana is a small shelf with a cup of water and a paper token, and it changes the relationship of the occupants to the space they live in more than almost any object 3 times its size. Ranma, the carved window between rooms. The ranma is a decorative transom panel, a carved, latticed, or painted wooden screen installed in the gap between the top of a sliding fusuma wall and the ceiling above it. It is simultaneously a ventilation feature, a light-sharing feature, and a work of craft, performing all 3 through a single carved wooden object mounted where Western construction would install absolutely nothing. Traditional ranma feature extraordinarily detailed carved scenes, cranes in flight, pine forests, rolling ocean waves, clusters of plum blossom, worked in wood with a precision that places them at the level of fine applied art. The panel allows air to circulate between rooms even when the fusuma below is fully closed, solving a passive ventilation problem that Western homes address with mechanical extraction systems. It allows natural light to travel between adjacent rooms without requiring the wall to open. And it is beautiful in the specific way that functional things become beautiful when their form is given equal attention to their function. The Western equivalent of the gap above an interior door is drywall painted the same color as the rest of the ceiling. In some mid-century homes, it is a fixed pane of pebbled glass used for light transfer alone. The concept that this structural gap could be filled with a hand-carved work of art that simultaneously manages airflow and connects adjacent spaces through light and ornament never entered Western residential building practice and settled there the way it settled permanently in Japan. The Ranma is a small reminder that in Japanese residential design, every surface is considered an opportunity, and very few of them are wasted. Yukimi Shoji, the screen made for watching snow. The Yukimi Shoji snow viewing screen is a sliding paper screen with a standard opaque upper panel and a lower section fitted with a small rectangle of clear glass or translucent panel, positioned at exactly the height at which a person seated on the floor would naturally look outward toward the garden. The name makes the function entirely explicit. It is a screen engineered so that a person sitting in the traditional floor-seated position can watch snow fall in the garden without opening the screen, without the cold entering, without breaking the sealed warmth of the interior room at all. The clear panel is at near ground level because the viewer is at near ground level. The garden is framed at the height from which it is actually experienced. Western windows are designed for a person standing or seated in a chair. The sill is at waist height or above. The view is delivered from an elevation that assumes upright Western furniture posture as the default viewing position. The Yukimi Shoji is calibrated to the body's actual position in the room it serves, floor-seated, close to the ground, and frames the particular thing worth watching from that position, at precisely the angle from which it is most worth seeing. Japan built a window specifically for watching snow from the floor of a warm room. Western design has never produced an equivalent. The screen, the snow, the seated person, and the cup of tea form a complete domestic picture that took a specific architectural feature to make possible. The Tsubo Niwa, the garden inside the house. The Tsubo Niwa is an interior courtyard garden, a small open-to-sky space inside the footprint of a Japanese townhouse, typically no larger than 2 or 3 square meters, planted with moss, a single tree or bamboo stem, 1 stone, and nothing else. It is not accessible. You do not walk into it or use it for any practical activity. It exists entirely to be seen, from the adjacent rooms through shoji screens, as a framed view of living nature available from within the home, regardless of the building's position inside a dense urban block. The townhouses that developed the Tsubo Niwa often had no exterior garden access at all. Buildings sat against each other on narrow city lots with no yard, no setback, no outdoor space of any kind. The Tsubo Niwa brought the garden inside the building's own footprint and gave interior rooms a view of something green and growing. Moss holds snow and the bamboo bends under its weight. The interior of the house has a view that is never static, never staged, never under artificial control. Western urban townhouses have light wells, vertical shafts of open sky used for ventilation and secondary window access. The Tsubo Niwa is a light well that someone planted deliberately, tended regularly, and named. Seismic anchoring rails, the safety system built into the walls. Japan sits on 4 tectonic plates and experiences around 1,500 earthquakes each year. Most are minor, but the constant seismic activity has shaped how homes are designed at a fundamental level. Modern Japanese houses include built-in safety systems to secure furniture. During construction, walls are fitted with metal rails and anchor points, allowing heavy items like bookshelves, wardrobes, and appliances to be fixed in place. This prevents them from tipping over or becoming dangerous during shaking. Earthquake preparedness is treated as a normal part of daily life and is taught in schools from an early age. Hardware stores stock specialized products like tension pulls, anti-slip pads, and reinforced cabinet latches to keep household items stable. In contrast, many Western homes, even in earthquake-prone areas, lack these built-in precautions. Japan's approach shows how deeply safety can be integrated into everyday design, making protection a standard feature rather than an afterthought. The Norin. The doorway without a door. A Norin is a split fabric panel, usually made of cotton or linen, hanging across a doorway in 2 or 3 vertical sections. It marks the boundary between spaces without fully closing them off. Instead of a door, many Japanese homes use a Norin at entrances like the kitchen. It allows people to pass through effortlessly while still signaling a transition. Air flows freely, light is partially filtered, and visual privacy is maintained without blocking movement or sound. There are no handles or hinges. You simply walk through, and the fabric settles back into place. Norin also reflect the seasons. Lightweight, pale fabrics appear in summer, while thicker, darker materials are used in winter. Their colors and patterns subtly express changes in time and atmosphere. Unlike Western dividers or doors, which prioritize separation, the Norin balances openness and privacy. It is simple, functional, and quietly expressive, turning an ordinary doorway into a soft, adaptable boundary. The Roji. The pathway that changes your state before you arrive. The Roji, meaning dewy path, is a garden walkway leading to a traditional Japanese home, designed not for speed, but for transition. Its purpose is psychological, to shift the visitor from the outside world into a calmer, more present state before entering. Unlike a straight, functional path, the Roji curves intentionally. Its surface changes as you walk, gravel to stepping stones to moss, subtly altering your pace and attention. Plants are placed to be noticed in sequence, guiding your gaze. Near the entrance, a stone basin called a tsukubai may invite you to pause, crouch, and rinse your hands, physically lowering your posture and quieting your mind. Though often only a few meters long, the Roji slows you down. The goal isn't reaching the door quickly, but arriving differently than you left the street. Where Western paths prioritize efficiency, the Roji is an experience, carefully designed to prepare you for the space ahead. The Oshiire. The room that disappears every morning. The Oshiire is a floor-to-ceiling built-in closet, often spanning an entire wall, designed to store all sleeping materials in a traditional Japanese room. Instead of a permanent bed, the room uses a futon, a foldable mattress laid out on tatami flooring at night and stored away each morning. The Oshiire is typically split into 2 sections. The lower level holds the folded futon and mattress, while the upper section stores blankets, pillows, and seasonal bedding. Once everything is put away, the room transforms. What was a bedroom at night becomes a living area, workspace, or dining space during the day. In contrast, Western bedrooms are fixed-purpose spaces, used only for sleeping, yet occupying significant square footage. For most of the day, they sit unused. The Oshiire eliminates that inefficiency. With no permanent bed, the room has no fixed identity. It adapts effortlessly, becoming whatever the moment requires. Underground automated bicycle parking, the machine that swallows your bike. In Japan's major cities, a cylindrical entry point sits flush with the pavement. You wheel your bicycle up to it, slot the front wheel into a guide rail, press a card to a sensor, and step back. The machine takes the bike. In under 13 seconds, it descends into an underground automated carousel, a circular storage system embedded beneath the street, holding up to 204 bicycles in a rotating drum, and vanishes. To retrieve it, you tap your card again. In under 13 seconds, your specific bicycle returns to street level. Not a similar one. Yours. This system, developed by Giken and called the Eco-Cycle, was built to solve the surface congestion that comes with Japan's bicycle-heavy commuting culture.
And then press the green button. And then it goes down over there, and in about 4...
Snow-melting roads, Japan's streets. that clear themselves, in Niigata Prefecture, one of the snowiest inhabited regions on Earth, roads do not need plowing or salting. They melt their own snow. Embedded beneath the road surface is a network of pipes through which groundwater is pumped continuously during winter. Groundwater in Japan sits at a stable temperature of roughly 12 to 15 degrees Celsius year-round, well above freezing. When it circulates through pipes beneath the asphalt, the surface stays just warm enough that falling snow melts on contact. No fleet of plow vehicles, no road salt corroding infrastructure and contaminating soil, no crews working through the night.
Find more recent data, but I know the system has grown since then. The system's preferred groundwater temp.
Enzyme baths, Japan's self-heating fermentation. Soaks. At traditional wellness facilities in Japan, particularly in Kyoto, you can submerge yourself up to the neck in a bath of cypress wood chips and rice bran with no heat source beneath it. The temperature inside reaches approximately 42 degrees Celsius. The heat is generated entirely by the fermentation of the bran, the same microbial process that generates warmth in a compost pile, precisely controlled by the facility's staff. The chips and bran pack around the body, applying gentle pressure while the fermentation heat penetrates evenly. The enzymes produced are understood to support circulation, skin condition, and muscle recovery. The sensory experience, warmth radiating from organic material rather than water, is consistently described as unlike anything else. Automatic taxi doors, the door that opens before you reach for it. In Japanese taxis, virtually every one of them, the rear passenger door opens and closes automatically, operated by the driver via a lever near the steering column. You approach the curb, the door swings open, you step in. The driver closes it from the front. At no point in the transaction do you touch the door at all. Your hands are free on arrival. If you're carrying bags, a child, or an umbrella, you navigate none of it around a door handle. In rain, you lose no time wrestling with a latch while getting wet. The driver controls the one part of the experience that involves the vehicle's exterior, and the passenger experiences only the interior. Japan made this standard so early that Japanese taxi users have forgotten it's notable. Square watermelons. Refrigeration solved by geometry. In the 1970s, a farmer in Kagawa Prefecture asked one question: why are watermelons round? The answer, because that's how they grow, led immediately to a second question: does it have to be? He built square wooden molds, placed developing fruit inside them early in the growth stage, and let the watermelon grow to fill the available space. The result: flat faces, right angles, a geometry that stacks and stores like any other box. A round watermelon cannot be stacked without supports. A square one stacks directly. A round watermelon rolls. A square one does not. A round watermelon occupies irregular refrigerator space. A square one fits into corners. The shape does not change the flavor. Sampuru plastic food replicas. So accurate they replace the menu. Outside almost every restaurant in Japan, from ramen counters to department store dining floors, a display window shows the menu in 3 dimensions. Not photographs. Plastic replicas of every dish made to exact portion size, with accurate color, texture, surface sheen, and garnish, lit and arranged to show each item precisely as it will arrive at the table. These are sampuru, sample food, and they are produced by skilled craftspeople. A single dish replica can take hours to complete. The ramen broth replicates the exact sheen of pork fat. The lettuce has correct translucency. The soft serve ice cream captures the precise curl.
Because of the detail in each food sample, artisans say it takes up to 10 years to perfect the craft. But don't be fooled.
Ainamuri. The country that decided sleeping at work signals. Dedication. In most professional cultures, falling asleep in a meeting marks you as disengaged or unprepared. In Japan, the practice, called inamuri, meaning sleeping while present, carries the opposite social reading. A person who falls asleep at their desk is understood to be exhausted by their commitment. The sleep is evidence of effort. Social rules apply. The sleep should be brief, the posture should suggest readiness to wake, head down on folded arms rather than sprawled across a chair. The person remains technically present and able to return to engagement quickly. Managers, in most contexts, do not wake the sleeping employee. What Japan formalized is an acknowledgement that humans have a sleep need that doesn't schedule itself conveniently around the workday, and that suppressing it entirely produces worse outcomes than accommodating it briefly. Flavor release. Bottle caps, the lid that changes your drink. Certain Japanese beverage brands, particularly in the sports drink and supplement categories, sell bottles with a 2-chamber cap. The upper chamber contains a concentrated additive, a vitamin dose, an electrolyte blend, a flavor shot. The bottle holds plain water. When you're ready, press the cap down. The chamber releases its contents into the water. You shake. Your drink is now combined. The cap solves a chemistry problem most consumers never consider. Many active compounds degrade when stored in water over time. Vitamin C oxidizes. Flavor compounds lose intensity. The 2-chamber system keeps the additives separated until the moment of consumption. So, what you drink was combined 30 seconds before you drank it, not 3 months ago on the factory floor. Rain chains, the drain pipe that became a garden feature. The standard drain pipe, a vertical tube fixed to the exterior wall, channeling roof runoff to the ground, performs its function without any other intent. It is functional. It is also, almost universally, an eyesore in the way utility objects become when designed without secondary consideration. The Japanese rain chain, kusari doi, replaces the pipe with a vertical chain or series of linked cups suspended from the gutter. Water clings to the chain through surface tension and flows downward, producing a cascading visual effect, either a quiet trickle or a sequence of connected waterfalls ending in a collection basin at ground level. The water management function is identical to the drain pipe. The visual and acoustic experience is entirely different. The rain chain converts rainfall into a garden feature. Forest bathing. The medical treatment Japan found in the woods. In 1982, Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries coined the term Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. It means taking in the forest atmosphere, walking slowly through woodland, breathing, observing. No fitness target, no distance goal. Presence itself is the activity. Japan funded the science. Researchers measured cortisol levels, blood pressure, heart rate, and immune markers in participants who walked in forests versus urban environments. The results were consistent enough that Shinrin-yoku is now formally recognized as a medical practice, with certified forest therapy trails, trained guides, and medical referrals issued by physicians.
To medicines and expensive therapies to get relief from symptoms. Only a few spend time.
Fitting room. Face covers, the cloth that protects clothes from makeup. Japanese clothing stores provide a thin fabric cover at the entrance to fitting rooms. When pulling a garment over your head to try it on, your face goes into the cover first. Lipstick, foundation, mascara, and concealer do not contact the neckline or collar. You try the garment on. You remove it. It is unmarked. The problem this solves is one every person who has tried on clothing in a store has contributed to: the transfer of makeup to a collar, staining a sample garment before anyone purchases it. The store absorbs the loss. The next customer receives a marked item. The solution requires 1 square of fabric and 2 seconds of additional behavior from the user. Maternity badges, the mark that makes invisible needs. Visible. Early pregnancy is when nausea, fatigue, and physiological demands are most acute. It is also when the pregnancy is not yet visibly apparent. A woman in her 8th week looks identical to any other passenger on a crowded train. She cannot communicate her need for a seat without announcing her medical condition to strangers. Japan introduced the maternity mark, a small pink badge displaying a pregnant figure distributed through local government offices and prenatal clinics that a woman attaches to her bag. Train passengers who see it understand its meaning. A seat is offered. The badge converts a private medical condition into a legible social signal without requiring verbal disclosure. Staple-free. Staplers, binding paper without the metal. The standard office stapler drives a metal fastener through stacked paper and leaves it there permanently. The result is a document that cannot be recycled, without first removing the metal. The removal is fiddly, easy to forget, and rarely done. Billions of stapled documents enter paper recycling streams every year with their staples still embedded. Japanese stationery manufacturer Kokuyo developed the Harinax staple-free stapler. It works by cutting a small tongue from the paper stack, folding the tongue through the cut, and using the paper itself as the binding mechanism. No metal, no extraction required. The document goes directly into recycling hole. The Harinax doesn't bind as many sheets as a standard stapler, which is why it hasn't replaced it entirely. For low-sheet documents, meeting notes, receipts, 2-page forms, it does everything a stapler does without inserting anything foreign into the paper.
Continuous. There you have it. Curious thing though, if you look at how many spots there are here, we can zoom in and count it.
Non-stick yogurt lids, the lid that actually lets go. The standard yogurt lid has a failure mode so consistent it's generated its own cultural response. The peel that releases a spray of yogurt across your shirt, your hand, and anything nearby. The adhesive seal, the surface tension of the product underneath, and the pull angle combine to make the first centimeter of opening the highest risk moment of breakfast. Japanese food brands produce yogurt with lids treated with a non-stick interior coating, a smooth silicone-based film, so that the product releases from the foil cleanly on peeling. The yogurt does not adhere to the lid. The peel is clean. No spray. Disposable gloves at petrol stations, fuel without the smell. At self-service petrol stations throughout Japan, a dispenser of thin, disposable plastic gloves sits beside every pump. You take a pair. You fill your tank. You dispose of the gloves in a bin on the island. Your hands have not contacted petrol or the pump handle. No fuel smell transfers to your car's interior. No residue lingers under your fingernails for the rest of the day. This is a problem every person who fills a car has experienced and solved inadequately. A tissue, an old receipt, trying to angle the grip. The Japanese solution is one pair of gloves per fill and a dispenser that replenishes them. Premium convenience store sandwiches. The meal Japan found in a corner shop. The Japanese convenience store, Konbini, is not a diminished retail experience. In chains like 7-Eleven Japan, Family Mart, and Lawson, the food program is developed by professional recipe teams, adjusted seasonally, and held to quality standards that would be unremarkable in a mid-range restaurant in most other countries. The sandwiches are the clearest evidence. The egg salad sandwich at Japanese 7-Elevens has achieved international cultural recognition, significant enough that overseas visitors specifically seek it out. The bread compresses and springs back. The egg filling is seasoned precisely. The ratio of filling to bread is calculated. The whole thing costs under $2 and is made fresh daily. Japan took a product category the rest of the world accepted at a low standard and applied genuine culinary effort to it. The result is a sandwich tourists write about, from a petrol station.
Today, something different. I'm trying the viral Japanese-style egg salad sandwich from 7-Eleven. In all my years of life, I've never once
fully emptying sauce packets. The crease that wastes nothing. Single-serve condiment packets have a design failure universally accepted everywhere. The contents adhere to the interior walls and don't fully dispense. You empty what you can, and the rest stays behind. At national scale, this is a significant quantity of food that was manufactured, packaged, and transported but never consumed. Japanese condiment packaging, particularly from brands like Kewpie, incorporates interior crease lines pressed into the packet during manufacture. These creases direct contents toward the opening when pressure is applied, ensuring the full contents dispense in a single squeeze without residue. The packet empties completely. This is not a technological solution. It is a geometric one. Roadside sandboxes for icy streets. Safety you serve yourself. In northern Japan, Hokkaido and other high snowfall regions, small weather-resistant containers sit mounted on posts at street corners and crossings, filled with sand and a scoop. When ice forms on the pavement, any passing person can take a scoop and apply it to the hazardous surface immediately. No council worker required, no phone call, no waiting. The infrastructure is present, accessible, and operable by any person at that spot at that moment. The community uses the resource and maintains the safety of the surface for whoever comes next. Coin holder. Organizers. The wallet that knows what's in it. Japanese coin holders, a small spring-loaded organizer carried in the pocket or clipped to a wallet, sort coins by denomination into individual rows. To pay an exact amount, you see immediately which row you need, press the release, and the correct coin presents itself. You do not fish. The alternative is the standard coin pouch, all denominations together, retrieved by feel or sight while a queue forms behind you. The organizer eliminates that entirely. Visual inventory at a glance. Exact payment without delay. Japan's high cash culture meant coin management presented itself at sufficient frequency to generate a proper solution. Bread bags that show how many slices are left. Japanese bread packaging from major bakery brands uses a transparent strip along the side of the bag, or printed count indicators on the exterior, letting you assess remaining slices before opening. You know how much bread is in the bag before you commit to using it. The problem is invisible in countries where it hasn't been solved. You take a bag from the cupboard, don't know if there are 2 slices or 7, open it, and find out only after the fact. The Japanese solution provides that information up front. You look, you decide, then you open or you don't. This matters most in meal planning, knowing before you start whether you have enough, whether a bakery trip is necessary. Food packaging that must match the actual product. Japan has informally but powerfully enforced commercial norms around packaging accuracy. The product shown on the outside of a package must represent, with reasonable fidelity, the product inside. This is not purely regulatory. It is a cultural expectation with real commercial consequences when violated. The result: Japanese food packaging images are, by the standards of most other markets, extraordinarily accurate. The ramen on the box looks like the ramen you cook. The biscuit on the wrapper resembles the biscuit inside. The packaging is styled, but not constructed from a different quantity or quality of food than what's being sold. High-performance stain. Removers. Japan's laundry is a different category. Japan's laundry products are, without particular announcement, technically advanced beyond what most comparable markets sell. Products like Attack Zero from Kao Corporation use a dual-ingredient technology combining surfactants and enzymes to break down stains at a molecular level across a wider range of temperatures and fiber types than standard detergents achieve. The Japanese laundry market is intensely competitive, which drives formulation investment that doesn't exist elsewhere. The result is detergents that genuinely perform differently, removing dried protein stains, set pigment stains, and oil compounds in a single standard wash cycle without pre-treatment. Japan has better laundry detergent because the Japanese laundry market demanded better laundry. Detergent and the chemistry existed to supply it. The improvement was available all along. Most of the world hasn't been offered it because the market never required it to be developed. The 7-minute miracle. Shinkansen cleaning crews. Between each Shinkansen journey, a crew called the Tessei boards the moment passengers disembark. In exactly 7 minutes, they clean and reset an entire 16-car train. Every seat rotated to face the direction of travel. Headrest covers replaced, floors vacuumed, windows wiped, tables cleaned, overhead racks checked, all rubbish removed. Then they line up on the platform, bow to the next group of waiting passengers, and depart. The following journey boards. The Tessei process has been studied by management researchers worldwide. It is a masterclass in coordinated choreography. Each crew member has a specific zone, a specific sequence, and a strict time limit, operating as one synchronized action. What the Shinkansen platform demonstrates is that cleanliness and speed are not in opposition if the process is designed correctly. 7 minutes, 16 cars, ready for 400 passengers. The bow at the end says something important about what Japan believes the work is worth. Transparent rubbish bags, the system that made everyone responsible. In many Japanese municipalities, household rubbish must be placed in clear or semi-transparent bags before collection. The contents are visible to the collection crew, to neighbors, and to anyone who observes the bag at the collection point. The visibility creates accountability without active surveillance. There is no inspector, no spot fine, no audit process. There is simply the fact that your rubbish is visible, your neighbor can see whether you sorted it correctly, and the collection crew can reject an incorrectly sorted bag at pickup. That social norm produces recycling compliance rates among the highest recorded anywhere in the world. The transparent bag is the least spectacular item on this list. It is a bag, made of different material than an opaque bag, at no additional cost, requiring no additional behavior beyond correct sorting. It changes behavior at scale because it changed one physical property of an object everyone was already using. Japan's waste sorting compliance is not driven by education campaigns or enforcement budgets. It is driven by a bag you can see through. The insight that visibility changes behavior more reliably than regulation applies to considerably more than rubbish collection. Japan found it in the bin bag. That is either very humble or very profound. Vertical car parking towers, the garage that builds upward, in Tokyo, Osaka, and Yokohama, where urban land costs reach figures that make most financial comparisons seem absurd. The surface area required to park a car represents a significant portion of real estate value. Building outward to accommodate cars is expensive. Building underground is expensive. Japan built upward. Automated vertical parking towers work on a mechanical carousel principle. You drive onto a ground-level platform and exit the car. A system of elevators and rotating platforms carries the vehicle to an available bay, which may be located on any of 15 or more floors above street level. When you return, you insert your ticket at the ground-level terminal. The tower locates your specific vehicle, positions it on the elevator, and delivers it to ground level facing the exit direction. The entire retrieval typically takes under 2 minutes. The land footprint of a vertical parking tower accommodating 40 vehicles is approximately equivalent to 3 or 4 standard surface parking spaces. The tower goes up. The cars go into it. The street gets those 4 spaces back. Japan took a problem that most dense urban environments manage by building bigger structures that still sprawl horizontally and rotated it 90 degrees. The solution was always available. Fitting 40 cars into the space of 4 just required thinking about the space differently, and then building an elevator system that could handle something heavier than a person. Heated shoe insoles, warmth from the ground up. Cold feet are winter's quiet failure point. Jackets trap heat, hats seal it in, but the foot, pressed against frozen ground, is left to endure. Japan engineered the gap. Heated insoles, widely sold by brands like Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, fit invisibly inside standard shoes. Some use thin electric elements powered by small batteries. Others rely on iron oxidation, similar to disposable hand warmers, producing steady heat for hours. The insight is simple but precise. Heat loss often enters through the sole, not the air. Traditional winter clothing insulates the body but ignores this conductive pathway. By targeting the exact point of loss, the insole solves what coats cannot. It is not bulkier gear or heavier layering, just a thin intervention placed where cold actually begins. Warmth, applied correctly, becomes less about covering everything and more about fixing the one place that was quietly failing. Coffee and edible waffle cones. The cup that disappears. Specialty coffee stalls across Japan serve espresso not in a ceramic cup, not in a paper cup with a cardboard sleeve, but in a small waffle cone. The interior of the cone is coated with a thin layer of chocolate before the coffee goes in, acting as both a flavor addition and a structural waterproof seal that gives the cone integrity for the duration of a standard espresso. You drink your coffee. You eat the cup. The result eliminates the disposable cup entirely. No paper, no lid, no sleeve, no recycling bin required. The vessel contributes its own flavor to the experience, then ceases to exist as waste. The sequence is objectively good. Hot espresso, followed immediately by warm chocolate-lined waffle, served by someone who thought carefully about what happens after the coffee is gone. The format works specifically for espresso-sized volumes, and Japan's response to this constraint is simply to serve more espresso sizes, which is its own separate improvement on coffee culture. The edible cone requires no new infrastructure, no supply chain overhaul, and no behavioral change from the customer beyond a second bite at the end. It sits in front of every coffee chain in the world as an available option that almost none of them have chosen to take. The cup was always the most wasteful part of a takeaway coffee. Japan removed it by making it delicious. Squeezable ice cream pouches. The format that solved melting. The cone deteriorates. The cup requires a spoon. The bar drips from the moment you unwrap it and dictates how fast you eat through sheer temperature pressure. Every existing ice cream format shares one structural vulnerability. The experience degrades over time, and the rate of degradation is entirely outside your control. Gravity and heat govern the transaction. You are a passenger. Japan's squeezable ice cream pouch gives control back to the eater. A sealed, flexible tube of soft-serve style ice cream, pressed upward from the base like a tube of toothpaste, can be consumed at any pace. The sealed format means no dripping. The tube can be partially consumed, set down, and returned to. No spoon is required. No structural management of a cone is required. Nothing about the experience is contingent on how fast you move. Children understand the format in seconds. Adults encountering it for the first time tend to stop mid-squeeze, hold the tube, and undergo a brief, visible moment of recalibration, the kind that happens when something is obviously better than what replaced it, and you cannot immediately explain why you weren't given this earlier. The ice cream tastes the same. The experience of having ice cream is entirely corrected. Japan has a specific habit of noticing the part of something that almost works and fixing precisely that part. Nothing more, nothing less. Fitting room face. Covers. The cloth that costs almost nothing. Japanese clothing stores keep a small fabric cover at the fitting room entrance. Before pulling a garment over your head to try it on, you place the cover over your face. Foundation, lipstick, mascara, and concealer remain where they were applied. The garment's collar, neckline, and fabric emerge unmarked. You try the shirt on. The shirt doesn't know. This solves a problem every clothing retailer on Earth shares without discussing. Sample stock is consistently marked by cosmetic transfer during fitting, reducing the saleable condition of garments before they are purchased, at cost to the store, and at mild indignity to the next customer who receives a pre-marked item. The solution is a square of fabric, not a technology, not a system, a cloth on a hook at the door. Japan keeps it there. Shoppers use it because it is there. The problem does not happen. This is a category of Japanese improvement that doesn't announce itself with engineering or innovation. It announces itself with the quiet confidence of a store that thought about what the fitting room actually involves, made a small provision for the reality of that, and placed it where it would be used. The rest of the world's fitting rooms have mirrors, lighting, hooks, and the persistent mystery of how the collar got marked before anyone bought it. Solo diner-friendly restaurants, eating alone as a first-class experience. In most countries, eating alone at a restaurant is socially tolerated in the way that queuing is socially tolerated. Everyone agrees to pretend it isn't slightly awkward. Tables are designed for 2 or 4. The single occupant at a full-size table generates ambient social noise. Servers ask if someone is joining you. The architecture of the restaurant quietly communicates that the minimum socially complete dining unit is 2 people. Japan engineered around this. Ichiran Ramen, the most internationally recognized example, places every diner in an individual wooden booth separated from neighbors by dividers on both sides. A bamboo screen separates the diner from the kitchen. You complete a paper form specifying your broth preferences, noodle firmness, richness level, and spice. The screen rises. Your bowl appears. You eat entirely alone, in a space specifically designed for that, with no ambient awareness that solo dining is anything other than the baseline intended experience. Beyond Ichiran, Japan has a complete ecosystem of counter-format restaurants, single-seat noodle bars, and establishments where the booth is the table, and the individual is the unit the entire floor plan was designed around. This is simultaneously a design decision and a cultural statement. A person eating alone is not an incomplete group. They are a complete person having a meal, and they deserve the same quality of experience as anyone else. The booth makes the argument structurally. Cane that converts into a portable seat. Mobility aid done properly. Japan has the oldest population by median age of any country on Earth. The product design ecosystem that has developed around this reality has had decades and genuine commercial pressure to become sophisticated. The result is mobility and accessibility products that are, by consistent margin, better designed than equivalents produced anywhere else. The seat cane is the clearest example. In a single motion requiring no tools and no particular dexterity, the cane converts from a standard walking support into a stable, free-standing seat. It reverses with equal simplicity. It is engineered to be light enough for full-day carry without arm fatigue, stable enough to sit on without risk of tipping, and this is the criterion most mobility aid design fails at, visually unobtrusive enough that users actually carry it in public rather than leaving it at home out of self-consciousness. That last quality is the breakthrough. A mobility aid left at home because the user finds it stigmatizing has a 0% effectiveness rate. Japan's product designers built the seat cane to function as a tool and look like an accessory. The result is a product people carry willingly. An older person standing in a queue for 20 minutes, waiting on a train platform, or pausing mid-walk without a bench nearby, is experiencing a specific, solvable physical problem. The seat cane removes it. Japan didn't just design the object. It designed the object the way it needed to be designed for the object to actually be used. Self-sealing. Jam jar lids. The jar that tells you it's done. The standard jam jar lid has a problem so universally accepted, it no longer reads as a problem to most people. It doesn't reliably create an airtight seal on the second close. Over-tighten it, and you cannot open it next time. Under-tighten it, and the jam dries around the rim. Every reclosure is approximate. The user provides the effort and receives no confirmation that it worked. Japanese food packaging, particularly from brands like Awohata, uses lid designs with a center depress indicator built into the seal. When the jar is properly vacuum sealed, the center of the lid is concave, slightly pushed down by the internal vacuum. When you open the jar and reseal it correctly, the vacuum restores and the center depresses again. You do not need to guess whether the jar is sealed. The lid tells you. A concave center means sealed. A flat or raised center means not sealed. Try again. This is the difference between a product you use and a product you have to think about using. Japan applies this logic consistently across food packaging categories. Soy sauce caps that indicate fill level, condiment bottles with pour spouts that reseal cleanly, resealable bags where the seal makes an audible click on closure. Every container that holds food should communicate its own state. You close the lid. It tells you it's closed. That is, it turns out, not too much to ask. Coin lockers. The solution to the bag problem at every train station in Japan. Every major train station in Japan, and most minor ones, has banks of coin-operated lockers available to any member of the public at any time for a flat daily rate typically between 300 and 700 yen. You are traveling between cities, you have luggage, you want to explore without dragging it through temple grounds. You find a locker, insert your bag, insert your coins, lock it, pocket the key, or receive a retrieval code, and walk away unencumbered. At the end of the day, you return, retrieve the bag, and continue to your next destination. This requires no app, no advance booking, no membership, no hotel check-in as a prerequisite, no staff interaction. The lockers are sized from small, a day bag, to large enough to accommodate full-size luggage. They exist at airports, shopping centers, tourist attractions, and parks. The network is so comprehensive that experienced travelers to Japan plan itineraries around it, forwarding large luggage between hotels via delivery services and using station lockers for the day bags they carry city to city. Japan decided that a person in transit carrying objects should not be required to carry those objects at every moment of the transit. The locker is the infrastructure answer to that decision. It is simple, cheap, available, and requires no assistance. In most other countries, the traveler with a bag they don't want to carry has limited options and must negotiate all of them in advance. In Japan, the answer is around the corner from wherever you're standing. It costs a few coins, and it is waiting for your bag right now. Number 21. Sleeping at work is acceptable, and it signals dedication. Inamuri, roughly translated as sleeping while present, is the Japanese practice of napping in public or workplace settings during the day, and the cultural logic that makes it not just tolerated, but in certain contexts, actively respected. A salaryman asleep at his desk during a meeting is not failing. He is demonstrating, within the Inamuri framework, that he worked himself to the point of exhaustion in service of his obligations. The sleep is evidence of the effort that preceded it. The rules governing Inamuri are specific in ways that look casual from the outside. You must remain in a position that suggests you could return to engagement at any moment. Upright with eyes closed is acceptable. Fully reclined across the desk is not. The sleep must be brief and light enough to respond if addressed. And it must occur in a context where the surrounding activity establishes that you were there and working before you stopped. No other professional culture in the developed world has built this logic into its workplace norms. Most treat visible sleep during work hours as a performance failure requiring correction. Japan treats it as evidence. That's a complete inversion of the same act's meaning, and it says something about what the culture is actually measuring. Number 20. Elevator operators bow to doors. When no one is inside. Department store elevator operators in Japan are trained to bow as the elevator doors close, even when the cabin is empty, even when no customer will see the gesture, even when the courtesy has no possible audience. The bow happens because the behavior is the standard, not because the standard requires a witness. This one initially reads as theatrical until you understand what it's actually about. The discipline isn't performed for the customer's benefit. It's practiced because a courtesy executed only when observed isn't a courtesy. It's a calculation. Japanese service culture treats consistency of behavior, regardless of audience, as the actual measure of professionalism. The bow to the empty elevator is the proof that the bow to the full one means something. I've seen visitors catch this happening for the first time and just stop. Stand there. It does something to you. It makes visible a principle about integrity that most cultures hold in theory and Japan holds in practice, daily in elevator shafts where nobody is watching. Number 19. Construction workers bow to every car passing their site. At Japanese road construction sites, workers stationed at the perimeter to manage vehicle flow bow to each passing car individually. Not a wave, not a nod. A full, formal bow directed at each vehicle as it moves through the controlled section. 8 hours of this through every shift at every active site. The gesture is simultaneously an apology and a thank you, acknowledging that the construction is causing inconvenience, thanking the driver for cooperating, and communicating that the workers are aware of the impact their work is creating for the people around them. 2 seconds per vehicle. No cost beyond the attention required to do it consistently. What it communicates to the driver is that their patience has been seen and acknowledged by a specific person taking personal responsibility for the situation. Japan built a culture where causing inconvenience, even unavoidable, socially necessary inconvenience, requires a direct human acknowledgement. Most countries' construction industries would find that genuinely baffling to implement. Japan finds it basic. Number 18. Hospitals have dedicated slippers exclusively for the toilet. Japanese hospitals maintain slippers reserved specifically for use inside toilet facilities, placed at the bathroom entrance for visitors and patients to change into before entering, and removed when exiting. The hospital corridor slippers stay outside. The toilet slippers stay inside. They are not interchangeable, and the expectation that this will be observed is communicated through placement rather than any posted instruction. The logic follows directly from the same inside-outside boundary, thinking that governs shoe removal at home entrances. The hospital is already a controlled, clean environment, and the bathroom within it is a separate zone with its own contamination rules. The slippers make that distinction physical rather than theoretical. Foreign patients in Japanese hospitals occasionally create small crises by walking out of the bathroom still wearing the toilet slippers, which are visibly different from the corridor pair. The resolution involves returning, swapping, and a specific quality of mutual embarrassment that confirms the rule was real and operating the whole time, even though nobody explained it when you arrived. Number 17. Ambulances adjust their siren tone at every intersection. Japanese ambulances use a two-tone siren system that shifts from a standard wailing tone to a lower frequency horn sound when approaching intersections. A deliberate acoustic shift designed to communicate different things to different people at the same moment. The wailing tone signals general approach. The lower horn signals immediate right-of-way at the specific crossing being entered. The distinction matters because a single, continuous tone communicates presence without communicating location or urgency gradient. The tonal shift tells a driver waiting at an intersection something specific and actionable, that the vehicle is entering this junction right now, not approaching from somewhere in the general direction. Most countries' emergency vehicle audio systems evolved without this distinction, using volume and distance as the primary cue for driver response. Japan added information to the sound itself, encoding urgency specifically enough that the right response doesn't require proximity to figure out. It's a small thing. It's also clearly better. Number 16. Gift money must be in odd numbers and never 4 or 9. Japanese gift giving involving cash is governed by a precise numerical code that determines acceptable amounts based on the event type, the relationship between giver and recipient, and the specific numbers involved. The number 4 is avoided because its pronunciation, shy, is identical to the word for death. 9 is avoided because Q shares its pronunciation with suffering. Wedding gifts must be given in odd numbered denominations, 3, 5, 7, because even numbers can be divided in half, which symbolically suggests the possibility of the couple separating. The specific amounts considered appropriate for different relationship tiers are widely understood, debated in etiquette publications, and consulted before any significant occasion. Giving the wrong amount is a social signal that will be read and remembered. Special envelopes called Noshi Bukuro, designed for different occasion types, are purchased from stationery shops, tied with specific decorative cord in colors that vary by event, and presented in a particular orientation. The money inside is almost secondary to the container and the care of its preparation. What the recipient is really receiving is evidence of how seriously you took the occasion. Number 15. Business cards are treated like an extension of the person's body. The Meishi exchange in Japan is one of the most codified professional interactions in any business culture in the world, specific enough that entire training programs exist to teach it before a first client meeting. The card is presented with both hands, text facing the recipient with a slight bow. It is received with both hands and examined respectfully for a visible moment before being placed carefully on the table. Never written on, never bent, never casually pocketed. Placing a business card in your back pocket is roughly equivalent to sitting on the person who gave it to you. That's not hyperbole. The Meishi is understood as a physical representation of the person and their professional identity, and treating it carelessly communicates exactly what treating the person carelessly would communicate. In meeting settings, received cards are arranged on the table in front of you in the same spatial configuration as the people who gave them, allowing name reference throughout the meeting without the social cost of forgetting who someone is. It's practical, and it's considerate, and it happens at every meeting, every time. Number 14. Every store provides umbrella bags at the entrance. When it rains in Japan, the entrance of every supermarket, department store, convenience store, and most large commercial buildings provides a stand of thin plastic bags sized precisely for a wet umbrella, free, requiring no interaction with staff, designed to be slipped over the umbrella's length so the wet exterior doesn't drip across the floor as you move through the store. The system needs no instruction because its purpose is visible at first encounter. The rack is at the entrance. The bags are on the rack. The umbrella goes in the bag. You shop without leaving a wet trail. No other retail culture has applied this with enough consistency to make it feel like infrastructure rather than an individual store's policy choice. Japan applied it everywhere, which is exactly why it works. The behavior it enables has to be universal to be effective, and universal adoption required the solution to be cheap enough and simple enough that every establishment could provide it without running the numbers first. Number 13. Slurping your food loudly is considered a compliment. Slurping noodles in Japan is not a failure of table manners. It is, within the specific context of noodle consumption, an acceptable expression of enjoyment that communicates to the chef that the food is being eaten with full sensory engagement. Eating silently, in a context where slurping is the established norm, can actually read as indifference. There's also a practical dimension worth knowing. Rapid slurping of hot noodles aerates them as they enter the mouth, cooling them enough to eat at a temperature that would otherwise require waiting, which in a bowl of ramen where the broth is actively cooling has a genuine effect on the experience. The socially accepted behavior and the optimal eating technique arrived at the same answer, which is either coincidence or a sign that the norm developed for good reasons. Foreign visitors navigate this with visible discomfort in either direction. Slurping produces guilt. Not slurping produces cold noodles. Japan's position is that in the right context, the sound is correct. Context governs. That's more or less the answer to most questions about Japanese social rules if you're willing to sit with it. Number 12. Escalator. Rules are city-specific and enforced without signs. In Tokyo, you stand on the left side of an escalator and leave the right side clear for people walking up. In Osaka, it's the opposite. Stand right, walk left. Neither city posts signs about this. Neither requires enforcement from any one official. Both operate with a consistency that would require formal regulatory infrastructure to achieve anywhere else. The city-specific reversal becomes a real social test when Tokyo residents travel to Osaka or vice versa. The instinct toward the wrong side produces the specific friction of being obviously from somewhere else, communicated through the positioning of bodies on a moving staircase without a word being spoken. What the escalator rule illustrates is that Japanese public behavior norms can be hyper-local and still operate uniformly within their local context. The enforcement mechanism is just the accumulated visible behavior of everyone around you, operating below the level of any explicit instruction, producing near universal compliance anyway, which is either impressive or slightly eerie depending on how you're feeling about it. Number 11. Exact change is expected and prepared in advance. Japanese cash culture involves a specific prepayment ritual that visitors notice without always being able to name. The preparation of exact change before reaching the counter rather than after the total is announced. Customers organize coins during the queue so that the transaction at the register involves handing over a precise amount rather than receiving change back from a larger bill. Nobody states this as a rule. It's shaped by a combination of register design. Japanese registers display the change due on a small counter-facing screen, and staff count change back with a precision and speed that implies the customer's cooperation and a general orientation toward not creating unnecessary work for the person serving you. The practical consequence is faster transactions, shorter queues, and a shared environment where the person behind you isn't waiting while the cashier counts 17 coins back from a large note. The system runs on individual courtesy rather than any institutional requirement, which, in Japan, turns out to be a more reliable engine than most countries' institutional requirements. Number 10. bikes are parked with military precision in designated areas. Japanese bicycle parking, particularly in urban areas around train stations where hundreds of bikes accumulate daily, operates with a standardized order that requires no active management to maintain. Bikes are parked parallel, aligned to the rack or floor marking, handlebar heights at consistent levels, kickstands deployed uniformly. The arrangement looks like it was organized by someone. It was organized by everyone, independently, because that's how parking a bicycle in this space is done. Illegally parked bicycles in Japanese cities are collected by municipal crews with a consistency and frequency that makes casual illegal parking genuinely costly. The combination of social expectation and reliable enforcement produces a public bicycle environment that functions as a managed system without requiring active management most of the time. What visitors notice is hundreds of bikes in perfect rows that look like a single person placed them with a ruler. The process behind that is the more interesting thing. Number 9. Eating while walking is considered inconsiderate. Consuming food while moving through public spaces is something most Japanese people simply don't do, with a consistency that makes it a real social norm rather than a preference some people happen to share. The logic is about shared space. Eating while walking increases the chance of dropping food, creates smells that affect people nearby who didn't choose to be near a meal, and divides your attention in ways that make you a less predictable presence in a pedestrian environment. The exception is festival contexts, where street food is specifically designed for consumption while moving, and the social setting changes the normal expectation. Context governs. Outside festival settings, the food stays at the point of purchase, or you hold it until you can sit. Foreign visitors who eat convenience store food on the pavement outside the store aren't doing anything illegal. They're doing something that every Japanese person walking past notices and registers quietly. The particular register of someone who's from somewhere with different rules. You feel it before anyone says anything, and nobody ever says anything. Number 8. No tipping, and they will bring the money back. Tipping in Japan is not merely unusual, it's understood as either a mistake, you forgot your change, or a subtle implication that the price charged didn't adequately reflect the service value, which reads as criticism rather than appreciation. Restaurant staff will follow you out or hold the money until you return to make sure the error gets corrected. The underlying idea is that the menu price is complete. It includes everything. The service is part of what you paid for, and its quality is the establishment's standard rather than something calibrated to the additional incentive of a tip. Paying above the stated price implies the stated price was insufficient, which is not a compliment in a culture where the pricing reflects a considered judgment about what the experience is worth. Number 7. Gift giving has ritual precision down to the wrapping angle. The presentation of a gift in Japan carries as much social weight as its contents, and the wrapping technique, envelope choice, ribbon color, and manner of offering all communicate things the gift itself doesn't. Department stores maintain dedicated wrapping services where staff fold paper with a precision that requires actual training, because the quality of the wrap signals the seriousness of the gesture. Gifts are typically not opened in front of the giver. Doing so would shift the social focus to the object rather than the relationship, which inverts the purpose of the exchange. The gift is about expressing care. Care is expressed through the preparation visible before the contents are ever seen. The object inside is almost beside the point, which is a strange thing to say about a gift, and also completely true. Number 6. Public trash cans are almost non-existent, and the streets are spotless. Japan removed most public trash cans from its streets following the 1995 Aum Shinrikyo sarin gas attack in Tokyo's subway, where waste bins were used to conceal devices. The bins didn't return at scale. The streets stayed clean anyway, because the established behavior of carrying your waste until you could dispose of it properly at home or at a convenience store simply continued working in their absence. The coexistence of no public bins and no visible litter is the thing that stops visitors cold, because in any other urban environment, those two conditions are assumed to produce each other. Japan separated them by making bin availability irrelevant to litter behavior. The waste travels with the person who created it until proper disposal is available. This is not universally comfortable. It works completely. Number 5. Queuing is practically sacred. The Japanese queue is not a loose cluster of people in roughly the right area. It's a precise single-file line starting at a defined point, maintained at consistent spacing, with a social awareness of position relative to others. That means no one needs to enforce it, because everyone is simultaneously enforcing it through their own positioning. Train platform queues in Japan form at marked positions on the floor before the train arrives. When the doors open, people standing outside the marked zones wait while those inside them board in order. This operates at thousands of platforms simultaneously, with the reliability of designed infrastructure. There's no one managing it. It manages itself, which after a while starts to feel like the more remarkable part. Number 4. No talking on phones on trains. Every train in Japan carries signage asking passengers to set phones to manner mode and refrain from phone calls while on board. The asking is technically there. The enforcement is entirely social. Nobody makes calls on trains because the ambient environment of several hundred people in shared silence makes the act of doing so a performance of inconsideration so visible that almost no one attempts it. The rule extends to conversation volume generally. Trains in Japan operate at a quietness that surprises visitors at first, and then begins to seem reasonable as you adjust, and the alternative becomes the comparison point. People are present. They are simply not making their presence a noise imposition on everyone around them. Number 3. Students clean their own classrooms daily with no janitors. Soji, the daily cleaning period built into every Japanese school day, means that professional cleaning staff don't exist for most of the building's interior. Students clean their classrooms, corridors, bathrooms, and school grounds for 15 minutes every day in rotating group assignments, with equipment stored in dedicated closets on each floor, using techniques taught as part of their education. The long-term result is documented and consistent. People who clean their own spaces throughout their education don't experience public and shared spaces as someone else's responsibility. The school toilet gets cleaned because the students use it, and they clean what they use. That sounds obvious, stated plainly. It apparently requires active cultivation to produce, and Japan does the cultivation early. Number 2. Bowing has a precise depth hierarchy for every situation. The Japanese bow is not a single gesture with variable enthusiasm. It's a calibrated communication system where the depth, measured in degrees, encodes specific social information about the relationship between people and the nature of the interaction. A 15-degree bow is casual acknowledgement between equals. A 30-degree bow is formal respect in professional contexts. A 45-degree bow communicates deep gratitude or sincere apology. Anything beyond that is reserved for occasions of exceptional gravity. People navigate this automatically after a lifetime of calibration, which means a bow's depth is readable social information communicated without being consciously calculated in the moment. It's a second language running in parallel to speech, and fluent speakers don't think about the grammar while they're using it. Number 1, saying a specific phrase before and after every meal is a social obligation. Itadakimasu, said before eating, meaning roughly, I humbly receive. And Gochiso-sama deshita, said after, meaning roughly, it was a feast, are spoken at every meal in Japan by most people, whether eating alone, with family, or in a restaurant where no one will hear. The phrases express gratitude to the food itself, to everyone involved in producing and preparing it, and to the shared moment of the meal. The ritual frames eating as an act with meaning beyond consumption, situating the meal within a web of relationships and effort that produced it. Skipping it in social settings is the kind of absence that says something specific about a person. Speaking it alone, when the only audience is your own lunch, says something equally specific. That the habit isn't performance. That what it expresses is genuinely meant. Number 21. The Metro Nap helmet with a built-in message board. Japan's salaried workers are famous for inamuri, sleeping in public while technically still present. A certain grade of exhaustion is so normalized that falling asleep standing on a commuter train is not unusual. Someone decided this needed engineering support. The Metro Nap helmet is a padded helmet with a suction cup attached directly to the train window. The user rests their head against it, held upright and stable against the glass, sleeping standing up for the commute. The helmet includes an external message board on the front where you write your destination station, so a fellow passenger can wake you before you sail past it. No alarm, no phone. Just a card displaying Shinjuku please facing outward while you sleep against a train window in a foam helmet, trusting strangers to deliver you to the correct stop. Number 20. The full cover. Umbrella that turns you into a walking bubble. Standard umbrellas cover your head and shoulders. Japan found this insufficient and produced the full cover umbrella, a transparent dome extending from above your head all the way to the ground, encasing the user entirely inside a sealed personal weather system. You walk through rain in a bubble. No wet shoes, no wet legs. Just you inside a portable greenhouse, absolutely dry. Absolutely terrifying to the people around you who can only see a pair of legs moving beneath a large, transparent dome. The obvious problem, unaddressed in the promotional material, is air exchange. Reviewers noted the interior temperature and humidity climbed rapidly. You emerge dry on the outside and damp from the inside. Number 19. The Butter Stick. Exactly what it looks like. The Butter Stick is the most recognized item in the Chindogu canon, possibly because it is the one that sits closest to the line of usefulness without crossing it. It is butter, formed into a stick the shape and size of a glue stick, stored in a twist-up dispenser identical to a glue stick. To butter toast, you remove the cap and apply it the way you would apply a glue stick to paper. Direct contact, even stroke. No knife required. The problem the butter stick solves: you have no knife and no time. The problem the butter stick creates: you now have a container of soft, temperature-sensitive dairy product in your work bag that is indistinguishable from your actual glue sticks, in a format that was designed to be twisted up and used by contact, which butter responds to quite readily when warm. Number 18. The Walking Hair Dryer. Dry your hair in transit. The walking hair dryer is a motorized device worn over the head, resembling a shower cap, that blows warm air across the scalp, allowing the wearer to dry their hair while commuting. The target problem: the Japanese morning routine is compressed. Trains do not wait. Leaving the house with wet hair and arriving dry is the pitch. What it produces in practice: a person walking through a public space wearing a humming motorized shower cap that redistributes their hair in unpredictable directions as the airflow shifts. Number 17. The Chin Rest Standing Support for Train Commuters. The chin rest is a pole-mounted bracket at approximately face height on a commuter train support pole, allowing standing passengers to rest their chin on it and sleep upright without falling over. The principle: if the pole holds you and your chin rests on the bracket, your head cannot drop. You can close your eyes. The train can lurch, and you remain broadly vertical. What the chin rest does not account for: sharp braking, which trains do. People pushing past you in the aisle, which people do. And what happens to a face that has rested at chin pressure against a metal bracket for 25 minutes, which is that it has a crease across the jawline that takes an hour to fade. You are already at the office. The chin rest targets people who need to sleep standing, are too self-conscious for the full nap helmet, and haven't yet considered sitting on the floor. Number 16. Dropper glasses with a built-in eye drop delivery system. Eye drops present a problem. You must tilt your head back, hold the dropper above your open eye, and squeeze. while your own reflexive blink response is actively working against the outcome you are trying to achieve. Most people miss several times. The drops land on the cheek, the bridge of the nose, and occasionally the ceiling. Japan produced a solution: glasses with miniaturized dropper tubes running along the inside of the frame, positioned to deliver drops directly to the inner corner of each eye from approximately 2 centimeters away. You wear the glasses, tilt your head slightly, squeeze the attached reservoir, and the drops arrive at the exact correct position regardless of your blink response. They work. This is the deeply uncomfortable truth about dropper glasses. The mechanism is functionally sound. The problem is entirely cosmetic. Wearing them requires you to be wearing what appear to be reading glasses with tubes attached to the nose pads, which does not read as a medical device so much as a very ambitious Halloween accessory. Number 15. The solar-powered cigarette lighter. The solar cigarette lighter uses a magnifying glass fitted to a compact frame that positions the lens over the tip of a cigarette at the optimal focal length. Point it toward the sun. Allow concentrated light to heat the tobacco to ignition. No fuel, no butane, no matches. The practical limitation: it takes between 45 seconds and 3 minutes to light a cigarette this way, depending on cloud cover, season, and latitude. During that window, you are standing in direct sunlight, holding a magnifying glass pointed at your own face at arm's length, completely still, for multiple minutes in public. Smokers are comfortable doing mildly stigmatized things in public. Even among them, the solar lighter was considered a step too far. Number 14. Hearing enhancer bowls worn over the ears. The hearing enhancer is exactly what it looks like. 2 small bowls, shaped like satellite dishes, worn over the ears and facing forward, functioning on the acoustic principle that a concave surface collects and focuses sound waves toward a central point. The engineering is legitimate. A curved reflective surface does concentrate ambient sound. Animals with large external ears, rabbits, deer, use the same physics. Pointing bowl-shaped receivers at a sound source genuinely amplifies what you hear. The problem is wearing them to a restaurant to better hear your conversation partner, which is the stated purpose. At that point, you are seated across from someone wearing what appear to be 2 salad bowls strapped to the sides of their head, pointing at you. The conversation they are attempting to hear more clearly is going to be the most awkward conversation either of you has ever had, regardless of volume. The hearing enhancer works in isolation. It fails entirely in the social context it was designed for. Number 13. The tie with pockets for every occasion. The pocket tie is a standard necktie fitted with a series of hidden internal pockets, accessed through discrete zipped or Velcro openings along the inner fabric. The intent: modern professionals need storage. Smartphones, cards, pens, snacks, bags are cumbersome. Jacket pockets distort the silhouette. The tie, hanging flat against the chest all day, is unexploited square footage. So pockets were added, 7 in the most comprehensive version, sized for a phone, cards, a pen, receipts, a granola bar, and 1 compartment the original instructions described only as a small emergency. A fully loaded pocket tie weighs approximately the same as a small carry-on bag and swings visibly when the wearer moves, drawing more attention to the storage solution than to the person it was meant to discreetly serve. Fashion and function were both sacrificed. The emergency compartment remains unexplained. Number 12. Rain protector mini umbrellas for shoes. For the person who loves their shoes with an intensity that most people reserve for close relationships, Japan produced shoe umbrellas. Tiny, fully functional miniature umbrellas, scaled to approximately 1/5 size, attached directly to the toe of each shoe and opening forward to shield the leather from incoming rain. The physics involved are not entirely unsound. A small forward-facing canopy does prevent direct rainfall from hitting the toe box. The shoes in the rain are measurably drier than they would be otherwise. What the shoe umbrella cannot account for: puddles, which the shoe continues to walk through, spray from passing vehicles, which comes from the side, and the fact that the wearer, looking down at their own feet, will see two tiny umbrellas opening and closing with each step, like the world's saddest parade. Waterproof boots remain the prevailing market solution. The shoe umbrella remains the more honest one. Number 11. The umbrella tie for the man caught in the rain. The umbrella tie hides a fully collapsible miniaturized umbrella inside a standard necktie. The ferrule becomes the tie's tip. When rain begins, the owner separates the outer fabric from the inner mechanism and extends a small personal umbrella from the thing they were wearing around their neck. It is compact. It is always available. It adds no weight to what the wearer carries. Using it requires removing your tie and holding it above your head. It covers approximately a 15-centimeter radius. Your head gets wet. Your shoulders get wet. The tie is now a damp umbrella handle and destroyed as a tie for the rest of the day. You are holding what appears to be a very thin umbrella produced from your own clothing in the rain, with a wet neck where the tie used to be. Number 10. The upside-down rainwater collector umbrella. The standard umbrella sheds water outward. Japan inverted this. The rainwater collector umbrella opens concave, a bowl facing upward, collecting rainfall rather than deflecting it. The collected water feeds through the handle into an attached storage bag, allowing the user to harvest ambient rainwater over their commute. The environmental intention is admirable. The mechanism works. The bag does fill. The problem: the concave surface collecting water is pointed at the sky. The person beneath it is pointed at the concave surface. The water collected is rain. The person holding the collector is also in the rain. Number 9. The hair protector worn while eating. Ramen is one of Japan's finest achievements. Hot, fragrant, served at a temperature that implies urgency. It is also, when consumed with proper enthusiasm, an active threat to the hair of anyone leaning over a bowl. Japan's response? The ramen splash guard. A circular face frame, resembling a wide paper flower or an Elizabethan ruff, worn around the neck and extending outward to a diameter of approximately 30 centimeters. The wearer's face is inside the ring. The ramen is in the bowl below. The hair is protected by the barrier between them. It works. The hair stays clean. The person wearing it looks, as the original product description noted with unusual candor, somewhat like the lion in Alice in Wonderland. The ramen splash guard is perhaps the most emotionally honest item on this list. Number 8. The finger toothbrush for the perpetually late. The finger toothbrush is a small rubber or silicone cap worn over the index finger, textured on one surface with bristles. You apply toothpaste, insert finger into mouth, and brush teeth using finger movement rather than handle movement. The target user: someone so time-constrained in the morning that the act of holding a toothbrush handle has become the inefficiency they need to eliminate. In practice, the finger toothbrush offers somewhat less mechanical advantage than a standard brush, requires the user to insert their entire hand into their mouth to reach the back teeth, and the texture of cleaning one's own teeth with one's own finger crosses a sensory boundary that most adults find surprisingly difficult to recross after encountering it once. It is more portable than a toothbrush. Number 7. The cooling fan attached to chopsticks. Hot noodles require cooling. Blowing on them works, but is not optimally efficient. Japan attached a small battery-powered fan to the end of a set of chopsticks. The concept: as you lift noodles from the bowl, you hold the chopsticks horizontally. The fan, positioned above the food end, blows air downward across the noodles. They cool. You eat them. The process is approximately 15 times more complicated than blowing on your food, but the fan does rotate. The noted practical concern from reviewers: the fan unit, made of small plastic and a AAA battery, is heavier than chopsticks are designed to be. Holding a chopstick with a weighted end at arm's length over a bowl of soup for the duration of a meal produces a forearm fatigue that the invention's creators appear not to have fully modeled. Also, the fan is audible, and in a quiet restaurant, this is socially significant. Number 6. The wearable floor mop for babies. The wearable floor mop is a onesie, standard infant clothing, with a mop pad sewn into the chest and belly area, As the baby crawls, it cleans the floor. The inventor's logic was airtight. Babies crawl anyway. Floors need cleaning anyway. These two facts happened simultaneously. Why not combine them? The product generated significant coverage in parenting media, almost all of it alarmed. Critics noted that an infant is not a Roomba. Its coverage is guided by curiosity, not systematic cleaning logic, and that attaching a cleaning function to a human baby crosses a conceptual line most parents prefer to keep clearly drawn. The babies were unaffected by the controversy. The babies were, as always, primarily focused on putting things in their mouths. Number 5. The panoramic head-mounted camera. Before smartphones had panoramic modes, capturing a 360-degree view required either professional equipment or, according to one Japanese inventor, a circular camera rig mounted on a plastic headband worn around the skull. The device positioned multiple lenses at intervals around the circumference of the headband, each facing a different direction, collectively capturing every angle simultaneously. The resulting images were stitched into a complete panorama. The technology worked. What the technology required was for the user to stand in the landscape they wished to photograph with what appeared to be a camera-studded halo orbiting their head, completely still, while the shutters fired. The panorama is excellent. The user looks like they are testing a surveillance system on themselves. Smartphones eventually made the device redundant. Number 4. The lipstick mask for perfect application. The lipstick mask is a rigid face covering shaped like a medical mask, with a precise cutout in the position of the lips, allowing the wearer to apply lipstick through the opening while the surrounding facial area is protected from smears and errors. The stated benefit: perfect lip definition without straying outside the natural lip line. For people who struggle with precise application, the mask provides a physical boundary. The problem the product did not fully work through. The mask is made of fabric in its most common version. Lipstick, applied to the opening of a fabric mask, immediately contacts the fabric edges. The fabric edges absorb pigment. The mask is now stained. Since the stain is shaped exactly like lips, it will transfer when the mask is repositioned to whatever surface it next touches. You have solved the problem of applying lipstick precisely to your face by also applying lipstick to a fabric mask, your hands, and eventually whatever you set the mask down on. The rigid plastic versions fare better mechanically and worse in every other way. Number 3. The tissue dispenser hat. Allergy season in Japan is serious. Cedar pollen levels reach concentrations that turn entire cities into sneezing chambers. The tissue demand this creates is real, documented, and commercially significant. Someone decided the solution was architectural. The tissue dispenser hat is a hat. A real, wearable, full coverage hat, with a tissue roll mounted at the center top. The tissue feeds downward through a small guide and is accessible from the brim area. When you need one, you pull. A fresh sheet tears off. The roll rotates slightly. You are ready for the next sneeze without having reached into a pocket or bag. The hat is functional in the narrow technical sense. You will not run out of tissue unexpectedly. You will also be wearing a hat with a toilet paper roll on top of it, in public, in a country where understated public presentation is not just preferred, but expected. The tissue hat represents either the complete abandonment of social self-consciousness or its ultimate expression. A person so unbothered by what strangers think that they have mounted their consumables on their head. Number 2. The umbrella headband. Both hands free in the rain. The umbrella headband is a miniature umbrella, canopy and all, with a spoke and fabric structure that opens and closes, mounted on a headband. The headband is worn. The umbrella sits above the head, positioned where a personal umbrella held at arm's length would be, except held there by the user's own skull rather than their hand. Both hands are free. This is the invention's entire value proposition, and it is a real one. In heavy rain with shopping bags in both hands, an umbrella headband means neither arm is engaged in the overhead task. You walk in the rain. Your head is covered. Your hands carry things. The canopy covers approximately a 30-centimeter radius. In light rain, the shoulders stay dry. In moderate rain, the shoulders get wet. In heavy rain, the headband user gets wet with both hands free, which is the same outcome as getting wet with one hand full of an umbrella, except with the additional feature of wearing an umbrella on your head, which passers-by find memorable. Number 1. The Rain Step Dryer. A shoe dryer you step on at the door. We end with the most humble item on the list, and arguably the most sensible. The step dryer is a mat placed at the entrance of a home or business, embedded with a low-heat drying element and a textured surface. You step onto it when entering. Your wet shoes make contact with the heated surface. As you stand removing your coat or umbrella, the mat very gently begins drying the soles and lower sides of your footwear. In a country where shoes are removed at the entrance of most homes, left at the genkan, the entry threshold, wet shoes left on the floor create a damp patch, can damage flooring, and take hours to dry naturally in humid Japanese summers or cold Japanese winters. The step dryer addresses exactly this problem at exactly the right moment, with exactly the right amount of technology applied. It does not walk beside you. It does not go on your head. It does not require you to wear it, fuel it with sunlight, or explain it to anyone. Of all 21 items on this list, this is the one that almost no one photographs, almost no one shares, and almost everyone who encounters it immediately understands. It is the invention that is not weird at all. It is just quietly, completely right, which in a list of chindogu makes it the strangest thing here. Number 24. The pen that writes on water. A Japanese stationery company called Pilot developed a pen called the Friction Aqua that writes legibly on wet paper, glass, and even underwater surfaces. The ink uses a polymer suspension that bonds to surfaces regardless of moisture content. Marine biologists use them for underwater note-taking. Restaurant staff use them on glass surfaces. Bathroom whiteboards use the same ink. The pen costs about $3. The technology behind it took 15 years to perfect. Pilot's research labs in Tokyo treat ink chemistry as a serious engineering discipline rather than a commodity product. Most Western pen manufacturers gave up on improving ballpoint ink decades ago. Japan kept refining, and the country produces writing instruments that work in conditions that would render any other pen useless. Number 23. The wallet that tells you when it's lost. A Japanese leather goods company called Tile Compatible Wallets embeds tiny Bluetooth chips into the spine of premium wallets. Lose your wallet? Open your phone. Find your wallet's exact location within a few meters. The chip lasts about 3 years on a single charge. The system works because Japanese phones, transit cards, and personal items increasingly speak to each other through low-power networks. The wallet becomes part of a small mesh that maintains awareness of itself. Lose anything connected to the mesh. Find it within minutes. Replacement costs for lost wallets in households using this system dropped by over 90%. Number 22. The shirt that cools you from the inside. A category of Japanese garment called the Kuchu Fuku, air-conditioned clothing, includes small fans built into the seams that pull air through the fabric continuously. The shirt looks normal from the outside. Inside, a steady airflow cools the wearer by several degrees during summer heat. Battery lasts about 8 hours. Construction workers, delivery drivers, and outdoor laborers wear them through Japanese summers when temperatures pass 40 degrees Celsius. Heat stroke incidents among workers wearing Kuchu Fuku dropped dramatically compared to workers in conventional clothing. The same shirt now sells to office workers, gardeners, and anyone who walks outside in summer humidity. Number 21. The phone case that powers your phone. Japanese accessory makers developed a phone case that includes a kinetic charging system. Walking, moving, or even shaking the phone generates small amounts of electricity that trickle back into the battery. The case adds about 10 millimeters of thickness and roughly 20% additional daily battery life through normal use. The technology came from research originally aimed at powering medical implants. The case essentially captures energy that would otherwise be lost as heat or vibration. Owners report rarely needing to charge their phones, even after long days of heavy use. Most Western phone cases still serve only as protection, while Japan figured out that the same object could quietly generate power. Number 20. The robot vacuum that reports the weather. Newer Japanese robot vacuums include atmospheric sensors that measure humidity, air quality, and temperature variations across each room. The data feeds back to the home's climate system, which adjusts heating, cooling, and ventilation based on what the vacuum found while cleaning. The vacuum becomes an environmental survey crew that happens to also clean floors. Homes using these systems report better climate consistency room to room, lower energy bills, and dramatically better indoor air quality. The vacuum costs slightly more than standard models. The data it produces transforms the entire home into a responsive environment. Number 19. The faucet that memorizes your hands. Several Japanese plumbing manufacturers produce sinks with sensors that learn each household member's typical water usage patterns. Wash your hands the same way every morning, the faucet learns your timing and adjusts flow rate to match. Saves water without anyone noticing the savings happening. The system identifies users through hand size detection and motion patterns. A household of 4 eventually has 4 distinct profiles, each calibrated for that person's typical washing routine. Total household water usage drops by an average of 30% within 6 months of installation, and nobody felt the sink behaving differently. Number 18. The coffee machine that grinds per cup. Most home coffee setups grind beans in bulk, then store the grounds in containers that lose flavor by the hour. Japanese coffee makers like Twinbird's single cup mill grind exactly the right amount of beans for each individual cup the moment before brewing. The coffee tastes dramatically better because grounds oxidize within 15 minutes of grinding. Most Western drinkers have never tasted coffee from beans ground that recently. The single cup grinder adds about a minute to the brewing process and produces a cup that cafe professionals describe as objectively superior to coffee from any pre-ground source. Japan figured out that timing was the variable everyone else ignored. Number 17. The toothbrush that scans your mouth. A Japanese electric toothbrush includes a camera in the head that captures images of your teeth during brushing, sends them to your phone, and uses image recognition to identify spots you missed, cavities forming, or gum issues developing. Dentists started recommending the brush to patients who needed better between-visit monitoring. The brush catches problems weeks or months before they would have been visible during a routine dental visit. Cavities forming get treated early. Gum disease gets caught in initial stages. The brush essentially gave every household member a continuous dental screening they never had to schedule. Number 16. The shoe that recharges itself. Japanese shoe manufacturer ASICS developed running shoes with embedded sensors that track step count, gait analysis, and impact distribution, all powered by the kinetic energy of walking. The shoes never need charging. The walking itself produces the electricity. The data syncs to your phone wirelessly during normal use. Runners get continuous biomechanical analysis without wearing additional devices. The sensors last about 2 years before needing replacement, by which point the shoes themselves are usually worn out. The technology that powered itself stayed cheap because Japan built it into the object you were already going to buy. Number 15. The blanket that warms only you. Japanese heated blankets called Mufu Hota use targeted heating elements that activate only where your body actually touches the fabric. Empty areas of the blanket stay cool. Used areas warm precisely to your preferred temperature. The energy consumption is roughly 1/10 of standard heated blankets, which heat the entire surface regardless of where the user is. The targeted heating also feels better because the warmth tracks with your movement during the night. Roll over, the warm spot follows. Reach an arm out, that part stays cool. The blanket adapts to the body rather than imposing a single temperature across the whole surface. Number 14. The fridge with an invisible inside. Japanese refrigerator makers like Hitachi developed a model with cameras inside each compartment that send images to your phone, so you can check what's in the fridge from the supermarket without opening it once. What this prevents is the universal moment of opening the fridge door, scanning the contents, deciding nothing looks appealing, and closing it with cold air now wasted. The phone view replaces that ritual entirely. Energy consumption drops because the door opens less. Food waste drops because you actually know what you have before grocery shopping. Most Western fridges still rely on the user opening the door to check, while Japan figured out the door didn't need to be involved at all. Number 13. The bathroom that weighs you invisibly. Newer Japanese bathroom floors can include built-in weight sensors hidden beneath the tiles. Simply stepping onto the floor records your weight and syncs the information to a health app automatically. Instead of using a separate scale, weight tracking happens as part of your normal routine. The advantage is consistency. Traditional scales are often used irregularly, creating gaps in data. A sensor-equipped floor measures every day without requiring any extra effort, producing a much clearer picture of long-term trends. What makes the system effective is that it removes the need for conscious action. Nobody has to remember to step on a scale. The floor collects the information automatically, allowing people to notice gradual changes sooner rather than months later. Bathroom scales are common in many homes, but often go unused. By integrating the measurement directly into the floor, Japan turned a separate health task into an effortless part of everyday life. Number 12. The window that frosts itself for privacy. Japanese smart glass technology uses electrically responsive crystals embedded within the window itself. With the press of a button, the glass switches from transparent to opaque, eliminating the need for curtains or blinds. Beyond privacy, the glass can also help regulate temperature and light. On sunny days, it can darken to reduce heat and glare, while during colder periods, it can remain clear to maximize natural warmth and daylight. The idea reflects a broader design philosophy, combining multiple functions into a single material. Instead of separate systems for privacy, light control, and energy management, the glass handles all three. The technology has expanded beyond windows into bathroom doors, office partitions, and retail displays. By embedding privacy directly into the material, spaces become cleaner, simpler, and more adaptable without sacrificing functionality. Number 11. The translator that fits in your ear. Japanese translation earbuds such as PocketHawk earphones allow conversations between speakers of different languages in near real time. Each person wears an earbud and hears translated speech with only a short delay. The system combines wearable audio hardware with cloud-based translation software, making it possible for people who share no common language to communicate almost instantly. For travelers, business professionals, and even medical patients, the technology removes many of the frustrations caused by language barriers. Conversations that once required interpreters can often happen directly between participants. Rather than expecting everyone to spend years learning new languages, the technology offers a practical shortcut. By reducing communication friction at the point of interaction, these devices make travel, business, and cross-cultural connections significantly easier. Number 10. The mirror that shows your health. Panasonic's smart mirror analyzes visible health indicators such as skin condition, posture, and signs of fatigue whenever someone stands in front of it. Using imaging technology and analysis software, it provides simple feedback about changes that might otherwise go unnoticed. The mirror can identify patterns linked to hydration, sleep quality, stress, and posture. While any single measurement offers limited insight, repeated observations create a broader picture of a person's overall well-being. This allows users to notice potential issues earlier and make small adjustments before they develop into larger concerns. Better sleep, improved hydration, or a medical checkup can often begin with an early warning. The mirror also tracks long-term changes over time, helping users see the effects of daily habits more clearly. What was once an ordinary household mirror becomes a tool for continuous health awareness. Number 9. The car that remembers the road. Toyota's predictive navigation system stores detailed information about every road its vehicles drive, building a continuously updated map of pothole locations, traffic light patterns, blind curves, and frequent accident zones. The car warns drivers about each hazard before reaching it. The system shares data across all Toyota vehicles in the network. A pothole that forms overnight on a highway gets reported by the first car that hits it. Every subsequent Toyota approaching that same section receives a warning to slow down or change lanes. The fleet becomes a distributed sensor network that protects each vehicle in it. What this enables is preventive driving at a level that human attention alone cannot achieve. The car sees what's coming. The driver gets warned. Accidents that would have happened don't, because the warning arrived in time to prevent them. The system also handles construction zones, weather changes, and seasonal road conditions. Snow ice forming on a familiar bridge gets reported by the first vehicle that detects reduced traction. The warning propagates instantly to every other Toyota approaching the same bridge. Drivers who would have skidded receive enough notice to slow down before reaching the ice. The cumulative impact on accident rates among Toyota drivers has been substantial. The infrastructure that supports this is shared data, central processing, and rapid distribution to the network. The cars don't just drive. They contribute to and benefit from a continuously updated awareness of the road system itself. Most automotive markets still treat cars as independent vehicles. Japan turned them into a connected fleet that learns from every kilometer driven. Number 8. The chair that memorizes your spine. Japanese ergonomic chair makers developed seats that scan the user's spine during the first hour of use, then automatically adjust lumbar support, headrest position, and seat tension to match the specific curvature of that person's back. Different users in the same household get different chair configurations the moment they sit down. The chair recognizes each person through weight distribution and posture patterns, then reconfigures itself to their saved profile within seconds. What this addresses is the universal problem of shared seating, where one chair must serve many bodies. Office chairs in homes get used by different family members at different times. Each user previously had to readjust the chair to their preferences before working comfortably. The Japanese chair eliminates the adjustment step by remembering each user's settings and applying them automatically. The medical impact on back pain has been significant. Users who previously developed posture problems from poorly adjusted chairs find their backs aligning correctly within weeks of installing the smart chair. The infrastructure that supports correct posture got embedded into the furniture rather than depending on user discipline to maintain it. Premium Japanese offices install these chairs for every employee. The investment per chair is substantial. The reduction in back-related sick days, medical claims, and productivity losses more than offsets the cost within months. The chair pays for itself through preventing the spine problems that conventional office chairs slowly create. Number 7. The fridge that orders groceries. Connected. Japanese refrigerators track inventory continuously through internal cameras and weight sensors. When essential items run low, the fridge automatically places orders with local supermarkets for delivery the next morning. The household never runs out of milk, eggs, or staples because the fridge handles the restocking. The system learns family consumption patterns over time. A household that uses a liter of milk per week gets milk reorders triggered automatically. A household that uses 3 liters gets the larger order. The fridge becomes an inventory manager that gradually develops a model of how that specific family eats. What this eliminates is the cognitive load of running a household. Most adults spend significant mental energy tracking what's running low, what needs to be bought, and when to schedule shopping trips. The Japanese fridge absorbs that load entirely. The household just finds the right groceries appearing on schedule. Customers using these fridges report substantial reductions in mental overhead and dramatic improvements in food consistency. The morning never reveals an empty milk carton because the milk that ran low yesterday already triggered a delivery for today. The friction between needing food and having food got engineered away. The supermarkets benefit from predictable demand. The customers benefit from never running out. The food waste drops because nothing gets bought speculatively. Most Western households still manage groceries through manual lists, store visits, and occasional miscalculations that leave them either short on essentials or oversupplied on items that spoil before consumption. Number 6. the gym that measures every rep. Japanese fitness chain. Curves installed sensor-equipped machines that measure exactly how much work each user does, with what form, at what intensity. The data feeds into personalized training adjustments that recalibrate the workout for each subsequent visit. Members who improve faster get harder workouts automatically. Members who plateau get different exercises introduced. Number 5, the shower that saves water without you noticing. Japanese plumbing manufacturer Toto developed showers that use microbubble technology to maintain the sensation of strong water pressure while using 60% less actual water. The shower feels just as forceful as a conventional one. The water bill drops by more than half. The technology injects millions of tiny air bubbles into the water stream, expanding the volume and surface area of the water dramatically without increasing flow rate. The user experiences a fuller, more enveloping shower, while the system uses a fraction of conventional water consumption. What this represents is the practical elimination of the trade-off between water conservation and shower quality. Most low-flow showers feel weaker than standard showers, which causes users to either avoid them or to extend shower times to compensate. Number 4. The air purifier that talks to the weather. Sharp's plasma cluster air purifiers monitor outdoor air quality through municipal data feeds and adjust their internal operation accordingly. Bad air day outside, the purifier ramps up. Clean morning after rain, the purifier idles. The system never overworks or underworks based on actual conditions rather than schedules. What this eliminates is the energy waste of purifiers running at constant power, regardless of whether air actually needs purifying. Most air purifiers worldwide run on fixed cycles, consuming electricity even on days when the indoor air is already clean. The Japanese purifiers adjust dynamically to match real demand. The system also coordinates with local weather predictions. Number 3. The toilet. That is a doctor. Toto's wellness toilets can analyze urine for glucose levels, protein markers, and other health indicators during everyday use. Over time, the system builds a health profile that may help identify potential issues before noticeable symptoms appear. Conditions such as early kidney problems, diabetes risk, urinary tract infections, and dehydration patterns can be detected through routine monitoring rather than requiring frequent medical testing. The toilet effectively turns a daily habit into a health screening opportunity. This reflects a preventive approach to healthcare. Instead of waiting until something goes wrong, potential concerns can be identified earlier when they are often easier to manage through lifestyle adjustments or timely treatment. The system also tracks long-term trends that single medical tests might miss. Changes in hydration, diet, and kidney function can be monitored over months or even years, creating a broader picture of overall health. Because early detection can reduce future healthcare costs, some insurers have explored incentives for health monitoring technologies. The idea is simple. The bathroom is one of the few places everyone visits daily, making it a natural location for consistent health tracking. While many countries still rely heavily on annual checkups and reactive care, Japan has explored ways to gather useful health data continuously through everyday routines. Number 2. The building that rides the earthquake. Japanese engineers developed base isolation systems that allow entire buildings to rest on layers of rubber and steel bearings placed between the foundation and the structure. When an earthquake strikes, the ground may shake violently, but the building above remains remarkably stable. The technology emerged through decades of research into earthquake behavior, structural responses, and materials capable of absorbing seismic forces while supporting massive buildings. Today, many Japanese hospitals, government facilities, and residential towers use base isolation as a standard feature. The advantage is simple. Critical infrastructure keeps working during disasters. Hospitals remain operational, communication networks stay intact, and essential services continue functioning because the buildings housing them withstand the shaking. The impact has been dramatic. Structures that might have suffered severe damage under older construction methods now survive major earthquakes with minimal disruption. Lives are protected, infrastructure remains functional, and emergency response systems stay online when they are needed most. Japanese expertise in base isolation has also become a global export. Engineers from Japan advise projects in earthquake-prone regions worldwide, helping other countries improve resilience. While some nations still avoid the technology because of higher upfront costs, Japan concluded that preventing future earthquake damage ultimately costs far less than repairing it. Number 13. The school bag that lasts a decade. Every Japanese elementary school student carries the same kind of structured leather backpack called a randoseru. The bag costs several $100s. It's built to survive 6 full years of daily school use. Reinforced stitching, hardened frame, reflective strips, and a quick-release strap designed to detach if a child gets caught on something dangerous. The same bag goes to school every day from age 6 to age 12. Then it's often passed down to younger siblings, donated or saved as a family keepsake. Japanese parents make one purchase for the entire elementary career. American parents typically replace school backpacks 2 or 3 times across the same period. What sustains the system isn't just durability. It's the cultural decision to treat a child's primary daily object as worth investing in. The randoseru becomes a small symbol of being a student. Children take pride in it. The leather softens with use. By year 6, the bag holds the entire history of the child's elementary education in its scuffs and creases. Most countries treat school backpacks as disposable items, replaced casually, never invested in. Japan made one bag matter, and the bag carried generations of meaning along with the books inside it. Number 12. The Rentable Grandfather, a Japanese company. Called Family Romance employs actors who can be hired as substitute family members. You can rent a grandfather to attend your daughter's graduation, a father to walk a bride down the aisle, a son to visit an elderly mother who lost her own. The actors prepare in advance, learn the family history, and stay in character through years of repeat engagements. The service sounds bizarre until you understand what it solves. Japan has experienced rapid family fragmentation over the past several decades. Elderly parents who outlived their spouses, adult children working in distant cities. The traditional family structure that supported emotional ceremonies has collapsed faster than alternative support systems emerged to replace it. Family Romance fills that gap with structured human presence. The actor isn't a therapist. They're a stand-in for a relationship that should have existed, but doesn't. Clients often book the same actor for years, building genuine bonds. The grandfather who attends your wedding becomes the only grandfather your child will ever know. What the company actually provides is dignity during moments that would otherwise be marked by absence. Japan treated these gaps as solvable problems with practical interventions. Number 11. The cafe where disabled people work remotely. Tokyo's Dawn Avatar. Robot Cafe is staffed by robots called Oriheim D, each operated in real time by a person with a severe physical disability working from home. The robot moves between tables, takes orders, delivers food, and chats with customers. The person behind it controls everything through eye tracking or simple keyboard inputs. These aren't volunteers performing therapeutic work. They're paid employees, earning real wages, doing real labor. The robot is the physical interface that lets them participate in employment they would otherwise have been completely excluded from. People with ALS, severe spinal injuries, or other conditions that make leaving home impossible now have an actual job to go to. The customer experience is unlike any other cafe in the world. The robot's voice is the worker's voice. Their personality comes through. Regular customers form genuine relationships with workers they've never physically met. What makes this exceptional is the inversion of how disability employment usually works. Most countries treat it as charity with simplified tasks. Japan looked at the actual barrier and engineered around it. The robot didn't reduce expectations. It eliminated the physical requirement. Number 10. The savings box you can't open. Japanese banks promote a savings device called the Kuzuko Tabako, the breakable bank. It's a sealed ceramic container with a coin slot. You deposit coins or small bills inside. You cannot retrieve the money without physically breaking the container. The savings only emerge when the box is full. This sounds primitive until you observe what it actually does. The friction of breaking the box prevents impulsive spending of the savings inside. Customers who can't access their own money simply continue saving, because the path of least resistance is depositing more. By the time the box is full, often years later, the saver has accumulated substantially more than they would have in any digital account. The Kuzuko Tabako has been part of Japanese household finance for centuries, and modern banks now sell electronic versions that mimic the same friction. Accounts that can only be accessed after a 30-day delay. The mechanism is always the same. Make the wrong decision harder than the right one. What this reveals is that Japanese financial culture treats money problems as design problems rather than willpower problems. Number 9. The temperature-controlled vending machine for fresh food. Beyond the well-known drink vending machines, Japan has developed a category of fresh food vending machine that operates at multiple temperature zones simultaneously. The same machine can dispense hot grilled chicken, cold rice balls, room temperature snacks, and frozen ice cream, all from compartments calibrated independently. What this enables is 24-hour access to genuinely fresh food in areas where staffed shops can't economically operate. Train station platforms, rural roads, office building basements, hospital corridors at 3 in the morning. The machine becomes a small restaurant that never closes. The freshness is maintained through aggressive turnover. Items get rotated multiple times per day. Machines connect to central inventory systems that track what's selling and adjust restocking dynamically. A salaryman walking through Shinjuku Station at 6 a.m. can buy a chicken bento prepared that same morning with restaurant-level quality from a machine. Workers eat better. Late-night travelers have real food. Rural areas that couldn't sustain a convenience store still get fresh meals. Most countries still treat vending machines as a category for sugar water and chips. Number 8. The train line that delivers freight between passengers. Certain Japanese commuter rail lines operate a hybrid system where passenger trains carry small freight compartments in specifically designated cars during off-peak hours. Local businesses ship goods between cities using the same trains that carry workers at a fraction of trucking costs, with delivery times that beat dedicated freight networks. The system makes use of capacity that already exists. A passenger train running between Tokyo and Osaka has cargo space available regardless. Putting freight in that space means the train earns revenue twice from the same trip, while reducing truck traffic on the highways between the cities. What this required was the regulatory imagination to mix passenger and freight services in ways most countries consider incompatible. American rail networks operate dedicated passenger and freight systems that often share tracks but never share trains. Japan integrated them, and the integration produced efficiencies pure separation never achieved. Small businesses can ship affordably. Large businesses get faster delivery. The rail company captures revenue from freight that would otherwise have moved by truck. The environment benefits. One regulatory decision opened up an entire category of economic activity. Number 7. The forest prescription. A practice now formally recognized in Japanese healthcare called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, allows physicians to prescribe time in certified forest environments for patients with stress-related conditions, hypertension, sleep disorders, and depression. Insurance covers the prescriptions. Trained guides lead patients through specific protocols designed to maximize therapeutic exposure. The science behind this isn't soft. Japanese researchers have spent 40 years measuring exactly what forest environments do to human physiology. Phytoncides released by certain tree species directly boost natural killer cell activity in the immune system. Specific patterns of natural sound reduce cortisol within 15 minutes. Visual exposure to fractal patterns in leaves and branches lowers blood pressure measurably. What Japan built around this research was infrastructure. Certified therapeutic trails, trained guides who learn the protocols, healthcare integration that treats forest visits as legitimate medical interventions, insurance recognition that pays for the prescriptions like medication. The whole apparatus exists because the country decided that the documented effects of nature counted, and the country built systems to deliver those effects at scale to patients who needed them. Most countries still treat nature as decoration, a nice place for vacation, optional, recreational, separate from medicine. Japan integrated nature into the formal healing system, recognizing that the trees were already producing real medicine and that the only innovation required was acknowledging it. Forests became hospitals. The hospitals had no walls, no waiting rooms, no fluorescent lights, just air, sound, and pattern delivered for free by trees that were already growing there. Number 6. The bank that acts as a social worker. Several regional Japanese banks operate a service called Mimamori Yokin, watching over savings, in which the bank monitors elderly customers' accounts for unusual patterns and alerts family members or social services when something seems wrong. A customer who normally withdraws 10,000 yen weekly suddenly withdraws 100,000. The bank flags it. A welfare check follows. The system catches financial scams targeting elderly customers, signs of dementia affecting financial decisions, and isolation-related emergencies before they become catastrophes. The bank's role expanded from transaction processor to community guardian without anyone needing to formalize the transition. Tellers know their regular customers. They notice when something changes. What this represents is a fundamentally different theory of what a bank is for. Most countries treat banking as a pure transactional service, with banks deliberately avoiding any responsibility beyond moving money. Japan reframed the bank as part of the community infrastructure that takes care of vulnerable people, particularly elderly customers who increasingly live alone and rely on financial institutions as their primary regular human contact. The cost to the bank of maintaining this watching service is minimal. The benefit to elderly customers and their distant families is profound. Adult children working in Tokyo know that their parents' bank in a rural prefecture is keeping an eye on things. Scammers find Japan a hostile environment for elder fraud because the bank itself is paying attention. The whole financial system absorbed a small protective responsibility, and the country became safer for its most vulnerable members. Number 5. The neighborhood without a trash day. In many Japanese residential areas, a system called Gomi Suteba distributed waste collection points within walking distance of every home. Residents bring their trash directly to designated spots on specific days, pre-sorted into multiple precise categories. The categories are stringent: burnable, non-burnable, PET bottles, cans, paper, glass, and several more. What this replaces is the curbside collection that defines most Western cities. No trucks rumbling through quiet streets at dawn. No bags accumulating in front of houses overnight. No animals tearing through plastic. The trash arrives at the collection point already sorted, contained, ready for efficient processing. Recycling rates in neighborhoods using Gomi Suteba exceed 80%. American cities with single-stream curbside recycling typically achieve 30% at best, with massive contamination that often sends entire batches to landfills anyway. The Japanese system requires more effort from residents and produces dramatically less work for the community overall. Every yen of additional citizen effort saves multiple yen in municipal cost. The system works because Japanese neighborhoods agreed collectively to maintain it. Each new resident learns the schedule and the sorting rules. The collection point itself stays clean because residents take pride in their neighborhood appearance. The whole infrastructure of waste management operates with less truck traffic, less noise, less environmental damage, and less municipal expense. Most countries chose convenience over effectiveness and have been paying for that trade ever since in landfill volume, climate impact, and budget strain. Number 3. The school that walks itself. Japanese elementary schools require children to walk to school in organized neighborhood groups called Todan, the commute group. Older students lead, younger students follow. Volunteer adults stationed along the route watch over the procession. No buses, No parents dropping kids at the gate. Just children walking together every morning, every afternoon, every school day for 6 years. What this produces is remarkable. Children develop physical fitness without anyone scheduling exercise. They form friendships across age groups. They learn route navigation, weather adaptation, and the responsibility of leading younger children safely through public space. By age 12, a Japanese child can navigate complex urban environments independently in ways most American teenagers never quite manage. The community benefits are equally substantial. Adults stationed along the route become familiar to every child in the neighborhood. Households along the path develop relationships with the children they see every day. Crime against children drops because criminals encounter neighborhoods where every adult knows every child by sight. Most American children get driven to school in cars, dropped at the curb, and picked up the same way. No exercise, no friendships forming along the way, no independence developing. Japan recognized the walk itself as part of the education. Number 2. The bath that is also a social institution. The Sento, the Japanese public bathhouse, still operates across the country as both a hygiene facility and a social institution. For roughly the price of a coffee, anyone can enter, wash at small stations, and soak in large communal pools alongside neighbors. The bath cleans the body. Everything else happens during the soak. What occurs in a Sento isn't private. People recognize each other across the water. Children swim with grandparents. Old men sit in the same corner for 30 years. The water is shared. The space is shared. The vulnerability is shared because nobody is wearing anything that signals status or wealth. Research on regular Sento users shows dramatically lower rates of social isolation, stronger neighborhood connections, and better long-term mental health outcomes than comparable residents who don't visit. The bath does something the rest of the neighborhood's social infrastructure can't quite replicate. In a Sento, the performances that structure modern social life become impossible. The expensive clothing is gone. The phone is gone. The professional persona is gone. What remains is bodies in warm water alongside neighbors. The conversations get realer. The friendships deepen faster. Number 1. The invisible agreement that holds everything up. Underneath every idea on this list runs a single, deeper principle that Japan figured out, and most countries haven't. It's the agreement that shared spaces are everyone's responsibility, carried not by law but by individual decision, sustained not by enforcement but by collective participation. A commuter picks up litter that isn't theirs. A driver moderates their volume out of consideration for sleeping neighbors. A shopkeeper sweeps the sidewalk beyond their property line. None of these actions seeks recognition. They simply reflect a deeply internalized understanding that the community functions because each person treats public space as if they personally owned it. There's no document mandating any of this, no penalty for ignoring it. The standard exists because it's passed quietly between generations through observation. Children watch adults. They absorb the standard. They become adults who model it for the next generation. What this produces, multiplied across 125 million people, is a country that functions in ways pure infrastructure cannot achieve. Streets stay clean without armies of workers. Trains run on time partly because passengers cooperate. Public spaces remain pleasant because nobody decided alone to spoil them. Japan kept the agreement, generation after generation. The result is a society that works in ways the rest of the world doesn't quite understand. What if the smartest thing any country ever built was the quiet decision to treat the place we share as something worth caring for? If something in this video made you stop and rethink how everyday systems could actually work, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Ring the bell so it actually shows up in your feed. Drop a comment telling me which idea hit you the hardest. See you in the next one.